Welcome to the island. She's a cruel mistress, with her tropical jungles, lush forests, frozen peaks, and deadly swamps. And let's not forget the locals. Every part of this place will kill ya, which is perfect. Why? Because I'm crazy, and I'm playing on hardcore, so if I die, I lose everything. Will I rise to glory, or fall to a compy? We gonna find out. But before I begin this little adventure, there's two people I need to thank. Luke the Notable for creating the 100 Days series, and Zany Zebra for being awesome. Now let's light this candle, because I'm planning on killing all 4 bosses on Alpha, and I'm gonna need every single day to do it. This is 100 Days of Ark Hardcore, Island Edition, Rated R. Just kidding. It's not really rated R. On day 1, I woke up in the beach in my underwear, which is nothing new to me really, except this time there were dinosaurs.
Hello there.
And I was a little surprised to see him this far south. That's definitely not where I told him to be. But I didn't have time to think about that. There was danger all around me. So I ran, because I want to live. So, to help me do that, I make a stone pickaxe and a hatchet. And remember how I said I wanted to live? Well, I must not have wanted to live that bad, because I started to cross this water without thinking about piranhas. Luckily, there weren't any. So I make it across the water and suddenly I'm ringside to a fight between trikes and a raptor. And the raptor did manage to take out one of the trikes, which, not gonna lie, had me worried, but suddenly my vulture instincts kicked in, and I went for this trike corpse. I needed that hide and meat. And yeah, the raptor did not make it, but that's when this guy walked into my life. So I chased after that fella. But since I can't make a bowl yet and I still move like a turtle, he gets away. Okay, fine, Ark. The weak and defenseless it is. In fact, the more defenseless, the better. After that, I made a spear, a mortar and pestle, and a water skin. There's a good chance I've played this game before. And I know what you're probably thinking. What is this? Well, I forgot that I was playing on hardcore. You see, sometimes we humans forget things. And although I have thousands of hours in Ark, and I've played the game since 2016, believe it or not, this was actually my first hardcore run. So, whoopsie. I could see that I was losing daylight fast, so I set my sights on Herbivore Island, the perfect place for my rise to power. But there was one problem. I had to cross the ocean, and it do be dangerous sometimes. First thing I spotted in the water was a dead fish. Not a good sign. Whatever killed this kills for pleasure, not survival. I take the shortest and safest route, but I know at some point, this water's gonna get deep. Now, if you are as crazy as I am, you better just go for it. You better not hesitate, and you're about to find out why in just a second. It was hunting me the whole time. So I make it to Herbivore Island and this place looks great, but I already knew it would, because it's part of my evil plan. And the next step of that plan was to start clearing some space and lay down 2 thatch foundations. Damn, I'm good. On day 2, I learned how to make wood buildings instead of straw huts. After that, I made a wood foundation and a campfire and started replacing the old with the new. Then I put some meat on the campfire. You know, food, because I don't want to starve to death. I placed down a mortar and pestle and a trilobite caught my eye. So obviously I had to destroy it, but when I did, its body fell through the map. Bruh. So that was cool. Then I found this explorer note on the island, and my dark powers grew by 7 levels. But my brain did not. So I placed down another foundation, and then I built about 3 bolas, because I didn't have enough indentured servants. And Larry the Lucky must have heard this, because right after I said that, I found this 145 PT right at my doorstep. There was just one problem though. I would need sacrifices in order to tame this boy. So I bola this single father, and I sacrifice it and its small child to the dark ritual that I'm about to begin. Then it was time to make some narcotic and some arrows so I could knock this PT out. But when it came back, I had to wait for it to land, and then I bolaed it as hard as I could. And now it was time to begin the indoctrination procedure. So I shot some arrows into its face until it passed out. The next step of the procedure was to put prime meat on him and then walk away to leave him to think about what he had done. And when I walked away, I harvested this parasaur for its hide. When I came back to check the PT, I thought the prime meat was gonna spoil before it tamed. But I was in luck because I didn't do my math correctly, so that didn't happen. Converting minions takes time. So I went for a walk and I spotted this blue drop up on the hill. And the Ark gods hath smiled upon me this day because look at this loot.
Nice.
And when I came back down the hill, I could see that the PT was almost done taming. And you know, it took long enough. I mean, geez, I only got 100 days here. Let's go already. And as the sun set on the second day, I knew my life on this island was about to get a little easier. On day 3, I made a preserving bin. It seemed like a good idea. I didn't really have anything else going on. Then I put stuff in it to keep it from spoiling, because that's what you do. After that, I put some of the heavier items I was carrying into a storage box, a very evil storage box. And here we have the bed I was telling you about, because I'm so smart. Well, look who it is, my new berry farmer. And with that sweet ascendant crossbow I looted, this thing should get knocked out real quick. Come on, do it quickly. There we go. I grabbed some berries for the little fella because I didn't have any on me. He didn't really need much though, and in no time he was mine. I decided that he should be known as Willie Dustus, and if you know where that name's from, leave me a comment. I throw a saddle on Willie, and then we start farming up some berries because I need narcotic. And while I'm out farming berries, I spot this level 55 Anki, and I says to myself, you know what? I'm gonna tame this boy. So I head back to the base, and I start making some more narcotic. After that, it seemed like a good idea to make a forge. And once I had that placed down, I cooked the little metal I had to make a smithy. Then I made a storage box. And I forgot to name my PT, so it was time to fix that. You shall be known as Todd Gonzalez. Then I got tired of this trike walking around on my base all day, so I decided to do something about that. I mean, I can't have it disrespecting my dark territory. What's Willie Dustus gonna think? So I shoot it right in its trike face. And then I start running a bit, because it's faster than I thought it was gonna be. But what I didn't know is that it had the powers of telepathy. Because when I jumped off of this cliff and I looked down to my right, what did I see? So I got up on this rock and I started blasting. And I was feeling pretty good about that because it seemed to be working. But then a third trike showed up and started wrecking my base, and I ain't having that. So I jumped off the rock, and then I started shooting that trike to get its attention, but that almost got me killed. Although, I guess that's good content, right? I mean, this is fine. Everything's fine. Okay, I lied, it's not fine. I managed to take out one of the trikes before I have to run back up on top of this rock. But this other trike was a cunning one, so I jump off and somehow he hits me in the air. The refs are still reviewing the footage. But I don't change my strategy, because a trike's greatest weakness is running in a circle. So I just turn, fire, and he goes down. Then I see his little friend trying to run away in the distance. Where are you going there, little fella? So I start chopping up his buddy right in front of him. It's psychological warfare at this point. Once that chaos was dealt with, I rebuilt my preserving bin, and then I transferred everything back into it that was gonna spoil. Then I farmed some more stone to remake my mortar and pestle and my campfire. And before the night's done, I make some more stone arrows for the next day. On day 4, I spotted this blue drop at the back of the island that had a blueprint in it for an Ascendant long neck rifle. But when I saw how much it cost to make just one of these, it seemed kinda useless. As the sun came up, I witnessed this abomination. And yes, nerds, I'm aware that this is supposed to be a simulated sky, but they should at least try to get it right. Let me know below what's wrong with this image. At this point, I decided to tame this Anki because I was poor and I needed metal. And they do take a lot of arrows to tame, but if you just keep backpedaling, they'll never catch you. And he tried to run from me, but I still got him. I knew he would take about 17 minutes to tame, so I decided to do a few other things first. And here I go killing again because I need some hide for some saddles. And I could see that the Anki was taming just fine over there. I knew nothing would mess with it, that's why I came to this island. So I made an Anki saddle, then I learned how to make a PT saddle. But there was one problem. I didn't have enough hide or keratin for it. Okay, I solved that problem. I head back to my new minions, saddle him up, and start farming all the metal on the island. And we find an explorer note that gives us 9 levels. Then I say to myself, this guy looks like a Bobson Dugnut to me. So I take Bobson down to the beach and share a moment with him. I tell him all about my dark plans as Dark Lord to bring darkness to this island. And you know what? He seemed into it. I think he was feeling it, you know? You could just tell. He had that evil twinkle in his eye. Back at the base, I placed down another forge to speed up the metal production. Then I finally made a metal hatchet and a pickaxe. It's about time. And the Anki isn't the best at getting stone, but it'll have to do. There aren't any Dodics on this island to my knowledge. Yes, that's right. My very dark and secret knowledge. Whoops, I left another body laying around. That night things got real cold. And I mean insanely cold. I almost died from this. Who's responsible for this? I want their gun and their badge on my desk. 0 degrees Fahrenheit on a tropical island. And what's crazy about this is I'm sitting on about 60 fortitude right now, because I heard there was problems with this island. But I'm not sleeping inside Willie Dustus like a tauntaun to survive. So on day 5, I decided to build a proper shelter so I wouldn't freeze to death. The whole internet's gonna say it couldn't even last 5 days. Actually, nobody's gonna say anything because no one knows who I am. But they will. They will. But only if you like and subscribe. And what you see here is just a basic starter base. I didn't build anything too crazy because I knew I wouldn't be staying in this location. But I needed something to protect my stuff, and I can't have a trike running through here messing it up, can I? No, I cannot. And I think it turned out okay. It's not my best work, but stick around and maybe I'll impress you. Probably not. So with the base done, I decided it was time to take Todd Gonzalez out for a spin. But first I grabbed this Explorer note because this boy needed some levels. And as we're leaving our island sanctuary, I see the most PTs I've ever seen in one spot, and I'm reminded I need a spyglass. So I head to a spot where I know there's some crystal, and I grabbed this green drop on the way. Guess what was in it? 85 crystal.
Yeah, boy.
So I head back to the base because I want that spyglass yesterday. If you know, you know. And one nice thing about these double doors is that Todd Gonzalez can fit right through them. So I grab everything I need to make a spyglass, and when I tested it out on Todd, I realized this boy's a Kingslayer, which means he does more damage to alphas. But since PTs have such low stamina and health, I really don't use them as a combat mount. I don't want to hear it, Todd. You're not worthy. Day 6, and it was about time to hit some loot drops. I spotted this red ring blue drop that looked pretty juicy. So, after doing some pest control, I hopped off my PT to see what was in it. And it was just okay. I got some citronal, some long grass, and a large crop plot out of it, so could have been worse. After that, I grabbed this explorer note that I knew was up on this hill for some levels. Then I caught this purple drop in my eye over by the redwoods. It did end up landing near the swamp, which I wasn't happy about, but I got some ascendant ghillie gauntlets out of it, so that was pretty good. Then I grabbed a ton of explorer notes around the map because I needed that sweet XP. And I know this method is kind of cheap, okay? I get it. But I am playing on max difficulty with hardcore, so I need levels because I need health. Up north, I spotted a yellow drop that I wanted, but it turns out this wolf wanted me more. So I got airborne and circled the area, and then I saw that it was a level 55. It quickly got distracted though, so when the coast was clear, I landed and looted the drop. And I got a couple really good saddles out of it. Right after that, I saw this 115 Argent flying around, and I said to myself, I want that. Now, can you tell me what's wrong with this image right here? Is it A, a Purlovia is about to rip my face off? B, I shot this Argent with a stone arrow? Or C, I left the Forge on at my base? If you answered B, you're better at this game than I am. Why? Because I forgot my trank arrows, and I failed to realize that, so then this happened. Don't let children play with ascendant crossbows unsupervised. After that failure, I decided to hit the coast for some oil and pearls. And eventually I made my way over to this yellow drop. But this one was pretty disappointing, can't win them all. Then I spotted this real specimen exhibiting behaviors us mere mortals can never understand. Next, I cleaned up after some mammoths. They just kinda left this stuff laying around. On the way home, I hit a few more drops, and in this red one, I found an ascendant compound bow, which was awesome. On the morning of day 7, I fly back to the base because I'm carrying a lot of stuff, and that's where I put it. Then I threw down some stone foundations and some large crop plots because I needed to get these crops growing. And I made a compost bin too. Now I was gonna need a very special helper for this next part, someone with a lot of drive and ambition. A self-starter, but not that one. This one. This one will do very nicely. It had a look on its face that said, yes, I'll work long hours for no pay. And I know what you're probably wondering, and the answer is no, okay? No, it did not. We have a strict policy against children on this island, and I am deadly serious about that. And once she finished taming, I asked her what I should call her. Her answer impressed me. When we got back to the base, I told her she could have as many stimberries as she wanted for the rest of her life. On day 8, I made a feeding trough because I am a cruel but fair master. I did start shooting wildly into the water though, you know, just to keep them on their toes. Then I went out to get some mutton, which I never found, but that's not the point. You see, I started flying around this forest like I had a death wish because Thylacoleo are a thing, and they will rip my face off at this point in the game. But hey, I got lucky that day and nothing happened. Don't be like me. Always watch the trees. And yeah, I say that, but then look what I found on the ground. A level 80 Thylo. But she looked like she was having a good time, you know? Then I spotted 6 Ceratosaurus just tearing their way down the river with an alpha raptor in front of them. And if there was something in their path, it wasn't there for long. They were killing absolutely everything. And this is where shit got real for a minute because I was too busy looking at them and not my stamina bar, and I had to make an emergency landing. And I thought, this is it, boys. This is where I die. But they never came for me, and I'm not sure why. Maybe I looked too sickly or something, like I was gonna die anyway. And almost as soon as I took off, they were right near where I landed chasing something else. Well, after all that excitement, I decided to see what the beavers had been up to, but they hadn't built any dams yet, so I left. And on my way out, I grabbed this explorer note. Remember that mutton I was looking for earlier? I found it. But something else found us, and it wanted our blood. And I thought I was in real trouble here, but they knocked Todd up into the air. And let this clip be proof that this gun is the most useless gun in the game. It's a masterwork pistol, and I dumped over 30 rounds into these raptors before they finally laid down and went to sleep forever. See? This is what I need all that health for. So here's where I throw that pistol on the ground. Goodbye. Well, after that, I grabbed another purple drop, and it was okay, you know, metal, shotgun shells, scuba gear I don't have to craft. Then I went back to the northwest part of the map to find a high-level Argent that I remembered was over here. And sure enough, there he was. So, I flew into him to grab his attention. But then he got distracted by something else about 2 seconds later. I tried to get him to follow me a couple of times, and he was like, no, I want to die to these mammoths, no. Anyway, I landed on the beach to take a look at what was going on over there, and I didn't have a good feeling about it. My armor was totally broken. So I just left. Honestly, it wasn't worth it. When you're playing hardcore, you gotta know when to cut your losses, boys. After that though, I did loot a pretty sweet Ascendant pike out of this drop. Then I spent the rest of the day looking for a high-level Argent that never showed up. On day 9, I spotted this 95 Argent and I says to myself, get her. I don't use a trap for this because that's how I roll, and I like the thrill of the hunt. I gotta say though, she didn't really get very far. This bird's seen better days, but it brought the good stuff, so she tamed quick. Of course, a raptor showed up. I knew she was on follow though, so I used my big brain to fly away from that. Then I made the very long journey home because my PT was way faster than my Argent, and I couldn't sprint. Then I grabbed the mutton off of my bird, and I started fertilizing these crop plots because I need to get these crops grown as soon as possible. And I am playing with increased crop growing speeds because I don't feel like waiting around for them to grow, and I'm sure you don't either. If you do want to know the rates I'm using, they're in the description below. Next, I started gathering some berries for some obviously evil and nefarious purpose. Actually, I just forgot what I was doing here. But then I remembered it wasn't for berries at all. It was to get more seeds for these plots. And yes, I do have an absurd amount of raw mutton on me, but it was about to spoil anyway, and I needed it for narcotic. Next, I grabbed the engrams for the Argent and Dodic saddles. Then I made a bunch of arrows, and that was it for day 9. In the wee hours of day 10, I decided to go out exploring a bit. And this drop was really good. I got a couple of awesome saddles and some Ascendant fur armor leggings. Then I spotted 2 yellow drops in the distance, and one of them was a red ring. These drops have been pretty good so far. Later that day, I came across this alpha raptor strutting it on the beach, but I wasn't ready for her yet, so I decided to take on some deadlier prey because I needed keratin for saddles. And while I was flying around looking for more keratin donations, I spotted this Quetzal. Yeah, I ain't trying to tame no level 10 Quetzal. When I came back, this caught my eye because something ain't right here. This is how Animal Farm started. Listen, it better not be about me. Well, after that weirdness, I upgraded the saddles on Willie Dustis and Bobson Ducknut. No, I'll never get tired of saying those names, and it was finally time for me to take this Argent out and get some levels on it. Later on day 11, I looted this amazing Ascendant crossbow, and then I immediately replaced my old one with it. Later that day, I found some decent flak boots and an Ascendant ghillie chest piece. After that, I checked for some more beaver dams, but there were none to be found. I'm very lazy about making cementing paste, and I don't have a frog yet. I was finding nothing worthy of service in my dark army, so I decided to do a dino wipe at this point. Then I spent the rest of the day getting explorer notes on the Argent until it was basically maxed out. I spotted this red drop later, so I swooped in on it, and that's when I realized. My chest piece that I thought was 2k armor was actually 200. I misread it. But in my defense, you can't read the decimal point because the Ascendant D covers it up. On day 12, I went out to the icebergs looking for some penguins, but none of them were spawning. So I asked Google what the hell was going on, and apparently they don't spawn on single player. It's like a known bug that hasn't been fixed. And yes, I do have the prevent hibernation launch option on. It didn't do anything. I did some dino wipes too. I even increased the spawn rates. They never showed up. So I did what I always do when I don't have a plan. I looted some more drops. And this one gave me a toilet. So then I decided to go check on the beaver dams again, right after a dino wipe, because I'm a genius. It was obvious to me that I needed to let some things respawn, so I headed back to the base because I was carrying a lot of loot and it was getting heavy. Day 13 and it was time to try and find a Dodic. So while I was out looking for one, I spotted this fine specimen. Man, these Quetzal are trash. While I look over yonder and what do I see? It's a murder tree. I started scouring the mountains for a high-level Dodic, but I ain't finding nothing. In fact, I ended up searching so long that it rolled over into day 14. I searched here. I searched here. I even searched here. Nothing. So I did what most of us do and settled for one below my standards. I scoop her up and take her back to my island because I don't have a taming pen yet, and it's safer this way. I know nothing will ruin the taming efficiency here. I finally knock her out, put some berries in her, and let her sleep on it. In the morning, I grabbed some more fiber because I ran out, and then I made a few storage boxes because I needed a place to put that fiber. You see, I start organizing things a little bit better, and then I get another forge placed down. And when I went to check on the Dodic, I could see she had a nice little rock for a pillow, and the Dark Lord in me almost thought it was cute. Almost. But it was time to name my Argent, so I decided on Susie Cernandez because I like the way it rolls off the tongue. After that, the Dodic finished taming, so I named her Felicity Furcott. Here's a little tip from the Dark Lord Xeridae. And yeah, that's how you say my name. Dodics are way faster in the water than they are on land. It makes no sense. But now that we had the resources, I started building a taming pen so we could airdrop things into it. And it took most of the day, but by nightfall the taming pen was finished, and now we could tame some of the spicier things on this island. So I head out to try and find a saber-tooth because a Dark Lord needs a big cat. But I did get distracted by this red drop that was up in the north, and when I take a little peek inside, all I really find that's useful is some polymer. I don't know why I said it like that. I think all this voiceover is getting to my head. Here's a purple drop I found that had some decent ghillie leggings in it. After looking around for a while, I headed out to Carno Isle, where I knew there would be some large cats. But I got distracted by another red drop, and I'm glad I did, because there was an Ascendant Quetzal saddle in it and a pump-action shotgun. But the high-level cats just weren't showing up, so I had to do something about that. And once I took out the trash, I found this little gold nugget not long after. So I took him for a ride across the water, where it'd be easier to tame him. But he ended up taking me for a ride, and you're about to see why. First I drop him off on the beach, and then I dismount to try and bowl him, but he immediately gets distracted by a compy. But I did manage to bowl him, and then I started shooting arrows into his face. He was trying to hit Susie, but he couldn't. And I was worried my Ascendant crossbow might actually kill him. He was looking pretty bloody at this point, but because I hesitated, he broke out of his bola. And here's where I made a mistake, because instead of following him on foot like I should have, I turned around to get back on my bird to try and get ahead of him. I searched around for him, but he was nowhere to be found. I didn't give up though, so I circled around and found him on the beach. But I was out of bullets, so I had to farm the mats for another one. And then I lost him again, but there was no way I was giving up on this one. There you are, you little... This time I had a bola, and I was not playing around. I don't want to talk about it, okay? I hit that shot, see? That was good. I hit that one too. Then he gets stuck between two trees, and now the rubber band is on the other claw. So I knock him out, and I thought about killing him, but I ended up letting him live. I spent the night watching over this little degenerate, and when he tamed in the morning, I named him Dean Westry. It takes us a while to get home like this. I didn't have cryopods yet. I made a saddle for Dean once we got back. Then I grabbed Bobson with the Argent, and we went out to get some metal, because I was poor. And with Bobson all loaded up with metal, we headed back to the base, and I made a fabricator. Then I built a raft, which probably seems weird since I have an Argent, but I still did not have cryopods, so this was actually the safest way to get Dean to the mainland without endangering my Argent. And I did that so we could get some explorer notes on Dean, because this boy needed some levels. Once he was all leveled up, we headed out to the swamp to get some chitin from bugs. Then I had Dean eat this Sarco. He asked me why. I said, just do it. And you know, it's a good thing I did, because look what I found right next to us. So I made a waypoint to it because I'd be back later. On the way home, we spotted this beach party, but it looked like a fight broke out. I wanted to stay and watch, but Dean was underage, so we had to leave. But we did have a lot of fun that day. Killed a lot of things, got a lot of chitin, furthered a lot of my evil plans. Just some wholesome fun. On day 19, I made a refrigerator, and I started to move some things around. This was all part of my evil plan, you'll see. It's gonna be great. You know, lots of evil plans involve refrigerators. The next part of the plan was to take Bobson out because I needed more resources. So I started farming some obsidian with him, but then some raptors rolled up and Bobson had to lay the smackdown. Earlier, I looted a sap tap, so I decided to set that up and then build a platform up to it. And once I finished building that, a thick fog started to roll in. Bobson loved it, I know that much. He wouldn't shut up about it. Oh wow, look at this fog, isn't it so great? Wouldn't this fog look amazing at our base? On and on. We made it back to the base around 3 a.m. on day 20, and I couldn't help notice these jellyfish throwing a party. so I called the cops. Then I tried making some cementing paste, but I quickly gave up on that idea because I don't have the resources. It's too damn expensive. So I go looking for some beaver dams, and this time I actually find one. And after looting the contents, I introduced the owners to my shotgun. Then I went up north and found this purple drop on the way, and it ended up having a pretty good ghillie mask inside. The next day I was on the hunt for a beaver, but it kind of looked like a prison ride down there, and beavers are not warriors. So I moved on to another spot where I knew they'd be at, and I found this. I'll be back for her later. Towards the center of the map, I found that beaver I was looking for. So, I got a free flight back to the base, and then I dropped it off in the taming pen. Then, you know, maybe I made some promises about all the wood he was gonna get if he would just cooperate, but I don't speak beaver, so he just kinda stared at me. Then I loaded it up with some sleep potions and some berries and waited. And when the morning came, I had myself a new wood farmer, and I named him Sleeve McDykel. And I'm getting all these names from an old school video game, so if you know where it's from, leave me a comment. And now that I had the holy trinity of Ark, I could build a proper base. Felicity? I don't wanna hear it. Take some painkillers and get back to work. I took Sleeve out to get some wood, but he got overburdened quickly, so I had to use the oldest trick in the Ark book. Water. But then Felicity wanted a turn, even though she was just complaining about her bad back. And Bronto stopped by to say hi, which is kind of annoying, because I'm like that neighbor that you never meet. The one that makes those weird art videos. Well, he picked the wrong day to come knocking, because then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And that's what's gonna happen to you, Dean, if you ever try to run from me again. Huh? The next day, I went out to my new base location to set up a perimeter, but some compies rolled up on me and I did what I had to do. These turtles also had to die. No turtles. Then I got airborne to check my progress. Yep, it was crooked, so I had to fix it. And then I had to take out this sergeant that thought he was the main character. But once I had slaughtered everything within a 50-yard radius, I was finally able to place the behemoth gates. The next day I started plugging some holes in the perimeter, but yet again, I was rudely interrupted and I had to take out the trash. So I got some gates up because the constant interruptions were starting to annoy me. And in no time, I had the interior of my base sealed off from outside threats. Well, in theory anyway. And while I was fixing my wall, I heard the sound of freedom overhead. So I stopped to take a quick look, and I saw that it was a 120 Argent male. Clearly, he had come to serve me. I put a bunch of arrows into his brain, and then as he was going over the wall, I sniped him. See, you don't need a trap to tame an Argent. You just need an OP crossbow. Once he was tamed, I named him Hambone Wilkins. I like that name. So I took Hambone out to see what he could do, maybe get some levels. And I spotted this 110 Quetzal. And believe me, I thought about taming it, but right now was not the time. So then we scooped up some more Explorer notes. You know the drill. You've seen me do this before. But not even 10 minutes after taming Hambone, I spot this 140, and I gotta have it. It started flying in a circle around Hambone, attacking him, which is great, because I could get a better shot. And I mean, let's face it, Hambone's dead to me now anyway. This thing's a 140, 20 levels higher. Alright, I'm just kidding, Hambone. You'll always be my special boy. Then it started running for its life, but its life was mine now. So to really drive that point home, I made a vulgar display of my power. I don't even check my shots anymore. I just shoot and then look away, because I already know that I'm gonna hit. I'm just that good. No, I'm just kidding, I just got lucky. But it fell in the forest, and I had to go find it. So I used the sound of severe emphysema to lead me to the right spot. And it turns out it was a lady. Looks like Hambone got himself a girlfriend. So it was day 25 now, and I headed back to the base with both the Argents in tow. And once we were safely back, I named the new Argent Queen Xanadu. Of course, she's no true queen until I get her some levels, so we headed out to do that. The first note I came across had a scorpion near it, but it was stuck, and it couldn't get to me. Look at it. It wants to kill me so bad. And when I grabbed this next Explorer note, it occurred to me that I'd already hit max level on day 25. Not bad. And I grabbed some crystal on the way back because I was gonna need it for cryopods. This game do be looking a lot better in Unreal Engine 5, I'll say that. Day 26 and it was time to make a cryo fridge and some cryopods. But of course, I forgot to bring enough metal to make the fridge, so I have to go back for it. But I decided to make the pod since I was here anyway. Come on, Sleeve, get in my totally not Pokeball. Nintendo, don't sue me. Next up was Dean. Next up was Sleeve. Alright, Willie, it's your turn. I don't want to hear a word in the comments. Yes I do. Tell me everything I did wrong. Roast me. Somehow I find the dignity to pick up my taming pen and my crop plots. Then I finally head back to make that cryo fridge I meant to make earlier. And at the new base location, I start rebuilding the taming pen. I'm doing so good. The rest of the day was spent farming stone and wood, because I have a palace to build. Day 27, and it was time to start laying the foundations for this base. I took a quick break from building to kill this alpha raptor while I was out getting some thatch. But when I turned around, I could see that my tames were being attacked by something. And it turned out that something was raptors. One of them was a 145, and I tried as hard as I could to get their attention. But one of the raptors was attacking Sleep like he was the last chicken nugget on Earth. And before I could act, it killed him. So I changed my strategy and airdropped both of those raptors right outside of my walls. No, Sleeve. Not like this. You were one of the good ones. How will I ever replace you? You know, honestly, my life was a woodless wasteland before I met Betsy Skimble. And yes, that is what I named her. She was eager to help me get back on track. Do you get that joke? I hope so. Alright. Everything's fine. There was never any raptors here. Everybody get back to work. So, where was I? Oh yeah, I was building this base. And I was not trying to move again, so I spent a little bit more time on this base. And by a little bit, I mean several days, but you know what? It's fine. I was on track, you know? I was on schedule. It's all part of my evil dark plan. I've got permits, and I have to say that the snapping points are way better in ASA. They don't always get everything right, but they got that right. At this point, I had enough of a structure to get the crew inside so we could avoid any further workplace accidents. I was worried Felicity might sue, but it turns out she was too emotionally scarred to do anything. And it started raining on day 29, so I thought I should probably get a ceiling on this thing. It doesn't really matter from a gameplay perspective, but you know, immersion. Then I noticed that mountain in the background kind of looks like the Matterhorn. But like the Disneyland one, you know? Maybe I'll take the crew there when we're done killing all the bosses. Probably not though. I'm too evil. And I don't even really like them. I did build too close to the mountain though, because these Argents kept coming in like this and it was really annoying to deal with. But I had a solution to that problem, and that was to build a giant box to keep all of my tames in. I'm very creative. It's nothing special to look at, okay? It's built purely to solve a problem. Day 30, and I had spent way too much time working on this base, so it was time to finish it. And once I had the roof on, I started skinning it to try and make it look a little bit nicer. Why? Because I need a palace befitting a Dark Lord, and also because I can. Plus, it just looks like way better. Like, look at it. It took many nights, but by day 30, it was finally done. And if you want to make something like this, check out some of Itholdir's videos. I got the idea for this build from his channel, so thanks to him. In the pale moonlight of day 31, I caught this Argent near my base, so it was time to take out the trash. This is a no-fly zone. After I dealt with that problem, I started laying down the crop plots I forgot to place. Then I started dying of thirst, so that reminded me that I needed to get water up to my base somehow. But before I could solve that problem, I needed to build some more storage boxes upstairs because I was carrying way too much stuff. Then I made a stone water intake and headed back down to the water to place it. Also, just don't even look at my character right now, okay? I mean, I know I just zoomed in on him, but don't look. This is a cursed image, and I'm not responsible for you. Point is, this isn't even my final form. I got something special planned for that, so keep watching. But like, not this part. This part's bad. I head down to the old watering hole, and I'm thinking the coast is clear, but it ain't. And you're gonna see me run away like a little schoolgirl here, but it's actually part of my evil plan. You see, you lure the raptors into the water, and then they become stuck in the water. And then you know what you do? You just walk the other way. Do you see how my mind works? It's like a laser. Once that little interruption was dealt with, I checked the range on my water intake. Then I flew back to the old base because I needed to pick up some more of my stuff. And when I returned to the Palace of Pain, yeah, that's its name now. I just named it right now as I was recording this voiceover because I got tired of referring to both places as just the base. This magical circle started to appear on my ceiling, and I have no idea what this is. We're just gonna roll with my evil powers were growing. Yes, definitely not the ghost of Sleeve McDykel, that's for sure. Well, now that the house is properly haunted, we can place down the generator and the fabricator and my incredibly evil refrigerator. Hey, you guys remember when I said that I forgot that I couldn't use beds on hardcore? Yeah, I had still not figured that out yet. Next, I placed down both of the forges, and then I checked the generator and saw I had about 2 days worth of fuel, so I was good for a while. Day 32, I made Queen Xanadu fly out to the old base in the rain at night, and she was not happy about it. And her name comes from a little game called Faxanadu. You've probably never heard of it. I played it when it first came out. That's how old I am. I mean, I'm totally cool, alright? I'm totally not an old, decrepit vampire. Anyway, I grab my stuff off the smithy and put it on Queen Xanadu. Then I pick up the smithy, and as I'm flying back, I see a reminder of something I forgot to do. So, back at the Palace of Pain, I placed down a smithy, a wooden table, a campfire, and a mortar and pestle. And with all that, the base move was finally complete. On day 33, another Argent violated my airspace, so it had to pay with its blood. And normally, that sort of thing would cheer me up, but I just wasn't feeling like myself at all. And it was time for me to do something about it. Ah, much better. I was starting to feel like the roach alien from Men in Black, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I am a majestic creature. You can't see the top of my head because you're not allowed to take it all in at once. So I majestically make 3 water tanks and head out with them. And I get them placed down without too much trouble. I like this new system because you don't have to use pipes. And I know I'm late to the ASA party, but guess what? All the cool people show up late to parties. I'm not one of them, but they do. While I was placing those tanks, I spotted this alpha raptor, and it broke the law, so it had to die too. After that, I finished placing the rest of the water tanks. Then it was time for an extremely dignified walk with Queen Xanadu. When that was over, I made some trank darts and a long neck rifle so I could shoot them. I head out early on day 34 because it's time to find me a Rex. Oh, and I found one, but it was trash, so it had to die. Then I remembered something. I had marked the locations of 2 high-level Rexes already. And here was one of them. So I started building a Rex trap when this little degenerate showed up, and then this little degenerate decided to fly away. But hey, I'm the Dark Lord of this island, so I just turned around and killed it. Then I had a little chat with Queen Xanadu about how she should handle stressful situations. Once we were on the same page, I got back to building the Rex trap, which was good timing, because look who came to say hi. She swung wide though when I tried to lead her in the first time, and then a Ceratosaurus got involved, so I had to take care of that. But of course, this low level Rex showed up. Of course it did. After that, we were finally alone and I had her attention again. But there was something about this trap that just wasn't working, and she wouldn't path into it no matter what I tried. So I improvised, and I started using this trap as a barrier to keep her from getting to me while I shot her. At this point, she started to run. I didn't realize I only had 1 trank arrow left though, but it was okay because I really made that shot count. You ever just feel like you need to take a break from the game because you're just too good at it? Well, I don't. But I did take a break from taming that Rex to go get some more trank arrows. And I found her again pretty easily, which is kind of hard to miss. And because I knew her health was fine, I just started using the Ascendant crossbow. I probably should have been using this a lot sooner, but sometimes we don't always make the right choices in life. But I got her down, and now it was time to begin the indoctrination procedure. Her stats weren't that great. She had high stamina, which is useless on a Rex, but everything else was average, so we'll keep her. So I stood guard over her while she tamed. It looks like she broke my gloves, but they have a low repair cost, so it's fine. And while I waited for her to join my dark army, I spotted this 75 male in the distance, but he's not good enough for her. Once she was done taming, I cryopoded her and we got out of there. And on the way back, I spotted this red ring yellow drop, so you knew I had to take a peek inside. It really wasn't great though, but there was a beaver dam, so that made up for it. On day 35, I made the decision to move the forges out to, I guess we'll just call this the barn? Sure, why not? Then I took Felicity for a walk to get some more stone. And I just gotta say that I'm looking absolutely terrifying. If I saw that, I would run. Then I took Betsy out and spotted these hyenas bullying this family of Dodics. But I didn't come out from behind my walls for justice, did I? When I got back to the Palace of Pain, I gave my Rex her breeding name, which is just the level I tamed her at, plus her highest stat. This helps me keep track of things. Then I got some spark powder crafting because I needed more gunpowder. And I guess I put a feeding trough down, I don't know why. On day 36, I was starting to feel the urge to kill. But first, looks like I needed to get some more narco berries because I needed more narcotic. So I hopped on Willie, but he was getting the berries kinda slow for my liking. I thought Betsy might be able to do better, and I was right about that. Uh-oh, someone's useless to me now. While I was out on Betsy, I noticed this huge hole in my wall I'd have to fix at some point, but I had a bunch of narco berries now, so I went upstairs and made some narcotic. Then I went up to the volcano with Bobson because I needed some more metal. That industrial forge was calling my name. But while we were heading back, I spotted this Lystrosaurus, and he appeared to be doing some sort of threat display towards Bobson, so I did what had to be done. But then I saw the reason for his threat display, and this child was now mine. It all worked out in the end. Your father's in a better place now, and I need you to level my Rexes. So I waited for him to grow up, and then I cryopoded him. Once we returned, I loaded up the forges and I let the metal cook, and then I made a water tap because I was tired of being dehydrated all the time. After that, I made a ton of spark powder, and then I went out to find another Rex. On the way, I went and checked my sap taps, and I was flying through this lovely forest when Ark did what Ark does. So I pulled out my shotgun, and I did what I do. But then I heard the cries of Queen Xanadu, and she was being attacked by a couple of terror birds. And believe me, I tried to get to her, but these terror birds have ridiculous knockback. Why didn't I just shoot them with my shotgun? Because it had the reload bug, and I couldn't fire it. Fortunately, they pushed her down a hill, and I was able to jump on her back and get away. Then it was Queen Xanadu's turn to get some revenge. Later that day, I spotted this rhino, but it was only level 15, so I moved on. Oh, and if you're wondering what this is, it's a bug. Wildcard patched it shortly after this. But I came out here looking for that high-level Rex, and I found it. She had a couple of boyfriends with her though. But first I had to eliminate this Carno from the playing field. Then I made a move to try and separate the 2 lower levels from the higher level one. And I managed to grab the attention of them on my first try, which surprised me. I thought it'd be harder than that. Once I have them attacking me, it's time to start taking them out, and it's too bad because that green one has some cool coloring. To take down one of the Rexes and it's time to finish off the other. Imagine being a Rex and dying to a bird. After that I track down the 145 and start blasting. Then somehow I missed this shot, which makes no sense to me. Do be like that sometimes. But when you're this close with the long neck, you usually don't have to ADS because it's gonna hit. And after about a billion trank darts, she finally starts running from me. I chase her out to this cliff and she goes down. Then I load her up with the prime. She sleeps through into the next day and I watch over her to make sure nothing happens. Once she tames, I give her a designation, then I cryopod her and head back to the base. And now that I had 2 high-level females, it was time to find a male, because I need to get this Rex breeding program started. Then I checked on the metal and saw that it was going to take a while for this all to cook. I needed more charcoal too, so I put a bunch of wood on some campfires. After that, it was out to Carno Isle again because I needed a male Rex and I knew there would be some there. But they were all low level, so I had to start purging, and I had to do it a lot. In fact, I did it all day, and I still didn't find what I was looking for. So I went back to the base to regroup, where I built another forge, and I checked on the metal again. But I was still waiting on about 1k metal bars to be made, so I went to go tame a baryonyx instead. And this is when I remembered I had an Ascendant treasure map I hadn't used, so I brought that along. And of course, leave it to Ark to put the treasure map in the water. And leave it to Ark to have a little rat thief show up along with a Microraptor. But the Microraptor had angered this Gallimimus, so it took care of it for me. So I dove right in, dug up that chest, and inside I found a blueprint for an Ascendant Rex saddle. Oh baby. After that I returned to the base to make some more electronics. Then I spotted this red drop that was close by, and inside was an Ascendant pump shotgun.
Oh my god!
After Raptor Claws came early, I was feeling pretty lucky, but then I spotted this 145 berry and my luck was confirmed. So I started setting up a trap because baryonyx can be pretty slippery. Then I sneaked up on it. Oh, quiet like. I took the first shot and started running for the trap. But when I turned around, I saw that it was stuck on some tree trunks, so I had to give it a little bit more motivation.
Come on, kill me, I'm here!
But it did not fall for my tricks. It just went around and started attacking Queen Xanadu. So I decided to use her as the bait, and that worked out much better. Then I noticed that a Dilo somehow got in that trap, so I lured it out and put it down with a very gentle shot. And this berry seemed to greatly approve of that. But I didn't ask for her opinion, and I made that extremely clear to her until she fell down. I did a dumb thing right here though, because I forgot these tame with fish meat. Once I came to my senses, I made a waypoint for the berry and went out looking for some. I did have to take care of another intruder that fell in the pen first though. Later that morning I found the fish I was looking for, but it wasn't prime. I did find some salmon by the beavers though, so I used my sickle to get some prime meat from them. Even though it seems like I was gone a while, really this was only about 5 minutes. So I slapped the prime on the berry and waited for it to tame. I started telling her about the Palace of Pain, and she woke right up. Turns out she's the perfect specimen. Very high health and very high melee. So I decided to call her Betty White. And you know what? It was time to honor the dead. So I made a gravestone for Sleeve. Then I went out to try to find a boyfriend for Betty White because I wanted an imprinted berry. I spotted this level 75. Nope. I went to the beach nearby the swamp and that's where I spotted this bad boy.
Perfect!
So then I just repeated the same process that I used to get Betty White. And it seems that Queen Xanadu is simply irresistible to these berries because you walked right in. And once they're in there, this trap works great. And now we insert the prime fish meat, and in the morning, the berry becomes ours. Then I told him to get inside this tiny ball. Betty White seemed happy, but I knew I needed to get these two some levels. I needed to make some AC units first though for the baby factory. Then we went up to the top of the mountain to get this explorer note for the berry. She needed some XP. I did have to convince this saber-tooth it could fly first. And when I threw Betty out, she almost bounced off the mountain. But we managed to grab that explorer note and get her several levels in the process. Later, we got in a fight with some wolves, and I won. Then we got another explorer note, and I spent some points on Betty's melee. I heard some noise up here, and they told me they were fighting, and I should go back inside. But I had an explorer note I needed to get, and they was in my way. So I waited until this saber-tooth was the victor, and I saw it was a 130. I did think about taming it, but that's not what I came here for. This is what I came here for. Later that day, I came out to Carno Isle and killed this shark because it was fun. And because I had the XP buff, I decided to destroy everything on this island, including this baby saber-tooth because I'm evil. I already explained that. Then I grabbed the last few explorer notes on the island. Day 42, and I was still on the hunt for notes. Unfortunately, nothing really interesting happened that day, so I spent most of the day flying around. And when I made it back home, I saw that I had enough metal to make an industrial forge. So on day 43, that's exactly what I did. Then I started transferring the metal from the old forges to the new one. But after pumping all those levels into health on Betty White, she was still low, so it was time to go get a Daeodon. And I spotted this level 5, but it was way too powerful. I searched all day long and eventually this 120 showed up. So I start setting up the taming pen like usual, but then I lost track of it and had to go look for it again, which was a lot harder than I thought it would be because at nighttime they blend in well with the snow and the rocks. I did end up finding it though, so I dropped it off in the taming pen and started the process. And this guy took so many darts that my rifle broke and I had to finish him off with the crossbow. Of course he demanded a small sacrifice, and once he had made 10 trips through the all-you-can-eat prime buffet, he finally tamed. Back at the Palace of Pain, I make a saddle for him and check on the charcoal, which reminded me that I had an industrial forge now and didn't need to use campfires. Then I threw Bobson out because he hasn't done any work in a while and I don't like freeloaders. Later that day I heard a lot of commotion going on outside, but when I went to check on it, it seemed like they had it under control. It's nice having giant murder machines as pets, and I mean, look at them. With things at peace, I transferred all the metal that was on Bobson into the industrial forge. Then for some unknown reason I took Hambone out to get him some levels, and we grabbed this explorer note in the redwood forest. And at the exact moment I wanted to check my map, a 145 Thyla jumped out of a tree at me, and that kinda sucked, because I wanted to tame that. That would have been nice to have. And I never saw one this high level again. I had a really good XP buff going on Hambone at this point, so we went back out to Carno Isle. But I got distracted quickly by this beauty. So I landed and started using my Ascendant crossbow because I'd finally learned my lesson. Yeah, that was way faster. And I knew this big boy would be hungry, so I brought him the blood of the innocent and waited. His stats were just average, but he had good teeth at least. For some reason, I thought doing this might speed things along. I'm not saying it did, but I'm not saying it didn't. He spent most of the afternoon sunbathing until I told him about the 2 babes waiting back at base for him, and he woke right up. I named him Carl Dandleton. I don't really want to talk about it, but on the way home I could see that there was 2 drops in the distance. When I opened up the first one, I found a pretty impressive Ascendant Pike, and in this red drop there was some useful resources and a fabricated sniper. Back at the base I gave Hambone and Xanadu some alone time, and when I hatched the first egg I got twins out of it. Well, more Argents is always good. Then I hatched another egg to see if I could get a mutation, but sadly it wasn't meant to be. It could still be a good backup though, you know, like if it was the last Argent on Earth and I was desperate. The time had come to start the breeding program for the perfect Baryonyx. I imprinted the first one and oh my, it had 700 melee without any levels. 700. As a baby. Then I started breeding the Rexes, and we got a baby with pretty high melee on it. And at this point I needed some meat, so I took the berry for a walk when we came across this guy. But I knew I'd need kibble for that, otherwise the taming efficiency was gonna be garbage. So I decided to come back later. After that I made some more shotgun ammo because you can never have enough of it. And I said to myself, you know what, I need an industrial cooker. Then I took Betsy out to get some more berries, and no, I'm not gonna tame a Bronto, okay? Listen, I'm very lazy. On day 47, I tried to make a bunch of medical brew on my industrial cooker, but I forgot that autocraft is enabled by default. It made me a bunch of dye. Then I went on a little egg hunt outside to craft some exceptional kibble so I could tame that Therizino. But before I head out, I make a canteen real quick because I'm a thirsty Dark Lord. Once I have the Theri in my sights, I start building that taming pen again. But of course some random Dilo had to get involved. But once I dusted that Dilo, I hit the Theri in the leg and started running for the trap. But he didn't take the bait because I forgot I'm not a giant flying chicken. So I used Queen Xanadu. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's chicken feet. And with the Theri in the trap, I started shooting his face full of arrows. I get him knocked out and then I feed him some kibble. Okay, let's test the shotgun. I mean, it's alright. Hold up. Did this small child just see what I did? I certainly hope so, because I almost passed out from boredom by the time this thing tamed. His stats were amazing though, well worth the wait in fact, so I picked up the taming pen and headed back to base. On day 48 it occurred to me that this Oviraptor had been here for a minute, so I knock him out, put a Rex egg in him, then I start telling him how he's going to be a very special part of my illegal dodo breeding program. We're gonna need a lot of dodo eggs. Speaking of eggs, I went around and picked up Rex eggs, then I got my new Oviraptor into position. We had 2 berries born after that, so I joined them into my evil army. The next morning I went for a walk to get some meat. Then I loaded up the Daeodon to heal all these dinos sitting around. And with these 2 fine specimens ready to go, my plan to get the ultimate berry was almost complete. Then I had to take care of another intruder, and I decided to retire some of the original breeders. I made some of that medical brew I meant to make earlier, and then I finally made a chem bench so I could make gunpowder faster. Day 50, halfway there, and everything's going according to my evil plans. And I did stop breeding the berries because I had 2 super berries that were probably gonna break the game at this point. So I named this one the real Betty White because she's better than her mother. And I named the male Skip McKill because why not? Dude's a killer. When I went to check on the Rex babies, I found this guy, and he was an absolute Giga Chad, with high stats and basically everything. So that meant Carl Dandleton had to go. Is it cold and cruel? Yes. Yes, it is, but it's part of my evil plan. Then I checked on the Oviraptor, and it was collecting eggs nicely. Then I took Airmail out, one of the Argent twins I hatched earlier. Then we grabbed Bobson and farmed the mother load of metal. Once he was full of it, I brought him back to the base and filled up the industrial forge. And this right here is why I normally play with the stack mod. 3 stacks at a time? That's it? You're kidding. I'm too old for this. I'll be dead by the time I transfer it all. But luckily I didn't die. So I gathered up my trap and set out to find a female fairy. And while I'm out looking for that, I decided to use these treasure maps that have been sitting in my inventory this whole time. And of course I grabbed this blue drop as well, but my disappointment with it was absolutely immeasurable. So I stopped by the first treasure map location, and when I dug it up and looked inside, I really wish I hadn't. But treasure map number 2 didn't disappoint me. Treasure map number 2, good. But the search for a high-level fairy wasn't going so hot. I searched the jungles high and low. I even spotted this 125 Bronto. Then I came across the biggest salmon I've ever seen in this game. I mean, look at it. I just let that boy live. He was way too majestic to kill. After that, I stumbled upon this random FPS killer in the middle of the forest. I was still on the hunt by midday, but nothing was showing up. I felt I needed to change of strategy, so I headed out over by the red obelisk. I never come over here. There's no reason to. But it ended up paying off because I found this 145 female. So I trapped her and knocked her out, and I gave her some of that good kibble. And I waited for a little while. Actually, it was a long while. Well, it had turned into day 52 by the time I made it back to the base. And this is when cold, hard reality sucker punched me, because I realized I'm never gonna use this saddle. It would cost me 103,000 metal ingots. Ain't nobody got that money in Ark. So I got back to breeding more Rexes because my army was not yet at capacity. After that, I took Skip McKill out for a walk. He needed to stretch his legs. Definitely puts the kill in McKill. And I needed some more wood for some charcoal and a Therizino saddle, so I took Betsy out. And I ended up farming way more wood than I needed because I don't ever want to have to farm this again. Then I filled up the forge, and that was it for day 52. On day 53, I realized the Rex breeding may have gotten a little out of hand. And then it got way out of hand because I hatched too many eggs at once and they all got stuck inside each other and couldn't move. Then I started moving some of the adults around outside to better organize things. After that, the first fairy was born, and it was the perfect organism. A ruthless killing machine. And he got his mom's cool colors. Next, I checked on the crops because it had been a while and there was quite a few sitting in there. Then it was time to make an industrial grill. The Dark Lord's gotta eat. I did have a pretty good amount of consumables now though. Alright, whatever you do, don't make eye contact. But when I came back from checking the fairies, that was increasingly harder to do. Where are you going, master? Don't you want us anymore? I gotta cook some meat right now. It's very important. And also I gotta see how much narcotic I have. Yep, that's good. Just slowly walk past them. Their vision's based on movement. And now I had the tiniest bit of charcoal, so I decided to make gunpowder. But I was missing flint, so I went out on Bobson. Okay, the flint problem solved. It was time to do something about this abomination I had created. Then I spent the rest of the day breeding my prized ponies. We were growing in numbers now, but we would need levels soon. Towards the end of the day, I made some superior kibble, and then I saddled up to find a couple megatherium. When I got up north, I was finding nothing but low-level trash. Typical. And it was cold outside, and there were wolves after me, probably, but I just kept searching. And my search led me to this Alpha Raptor, which I disposed of quickly. And then this Alpha Carno, I needed its tribute, so that worked out. But the north disappointed me, so I headed out to the Redwood Forest next. But of course, when I landed, I had to deal with the locals. Totally worth it though, because I spotted this 145 Megatherium nearby. So, me caveman, me build trap, me shoot arrow in head. After that, me run, but trap no work. So I used reverse psychology and stood inside of the trap, and I thought I had it stuck for a minute, but then it managed to free itself. So I just stayed inside of the trap, and that was actually working pretty good. She tried to run away from me, but got real tired all of a sudden. Then I put some kibble on her and stood guard. And good thing, because these two jerks showed up and almost ruined the tame. Luckily, the Microraptor didn't hit her. After that, it was pretty quiet, and she tamed without any further incident. I almost ate this Rex egg on day 56. It's a good thing I didn't. After that, I made some more gunpowder, and then I used that to make some more bullets. Then I took out Skip McKill, and we found this Alpha Rex, and I needed its trophy. I needed its blood. Then we came across 3 Alpha Raptors, which I guess were traveling with the Rex, but I needed their blood too. Excuse me, where do you think you're going, No one told you could live. And after a long day of rampaging through the countryside, I returned home to this egg and I got twins out of it. And the next morning I went out to find a male Megatherium for the female I had. So I headed up north and this red drop caught my eye. It had an Ascendant Bronto saddle in it that I was never gonna use, but the shotgun shells and Enduro stew were nice. And it was about this time I remembered that I left my trap in the forest, so I went back to go get that. Later that day, I spotted this 120 female up north. Not what I was looking for. That is what I was looking for. And I decided to forego the trap this time because it just wasn't working on these Megatherium. And his aggro was a little weird because sometimes he would be right on top of me and other times I would have to chase him down. But eventually he got caught in the best trap in the game, 2 trees. After that, he went down like a rock. And usually there's a pack of monsters roaming this area, but that night nothing attacked us. And once he tamed, I finally had a breeding pair so I could tackle the broodmother boss. And when I returned home, it was clear to me that that I needed to purge some of these Rexes, because not all of them were good enough to fight Harambe's revenge. Girlfriend, meet boyfriend. And after their first baby was born, I forbid that for a little bit, because I was going to be away from the base for a while. It was time to do something a little bit different. While we were out, Betty White and I spotted this Alpha Raptor, and it did not survive us. Then I tried out her leap ability, and that was pretty fun. Once we got down to the water though, the real adventure began. An Alpha Megalodon showed up as soon as I got in the water, but it found out real quick who the Dark Lord of this island was when my Super Berry ripped right through it. Then I spotted this, which I have no words for. Seems like it was terrified or stuck. Probably terrified. I did just kill an Alpha Megalodon in front of it, but I had a Basilosaurus to find, so I moved on. I did have to smack quite a few Megalodons in the face though, and eventually another Alpha showed up and I had to lay the smack down on it too. And I kept looking for a Basilosaurus, but I wasn't seeing nothing. Look at this giant trail of prime meat I had to dump because I'm not using a stacking mod. Stupid vanilla arc. The search carried over into the next day, and I spotted this 45, but it was too low. Need something higher. Then I started to get the distinct feeling I was being watched, and it watched me for a while, and I thought it was stuck.
Nope.
It got the jump on me, but I smacked some sense into it real fast. Now who's watching who? The creeper got creeped. Oh look, it's a level 20 no I do not want you. There's always some shark interrupting me, isn't there? And I was about ready to give up, but then I spotted this 120. And I thought, yep, that'll work. And normally these Basilos have a bunch of mana rays following them, but single player was doing single player things. I did have to fight off a bunch of sharks though, so I guess that made up for it. And these passive tames always take a very annoying amount of time, so I went up to the surface to look around a bit. And when I dove back down, a couple of ichthyes had joined us. When I hopped off to check the progress on the tame, I got ambushed by 2 eels, and because I had the prime in my 0 slot, I accidentally tamed one of them. Betty White ate the other one real quick. But they ended up hitting the Basilo, and I had to start the process all over again. But I eventually finished taming it, and then I cryopotted this useless eel. After that, it was a long ride home on Betty White. Back at the base, I had a quick trespasser to deal with, and then I checked on the Theres. Well, day 16, I think I finally have enough Rexes. I spend part of the day getting them all into place. So I'm walking through my evil palace when all of a sudden...
NANI?
Who is responsible for this? I gotta fire somebody. That wasn't part of my evil plan, Betsy. It wasn't part of it. Kill, Betsy. Kill. Whoa, someone wanted blood. Then I went and got some berries. I always need berries. Yep, that'll do. Time to get some meat. I always need meat. And then I throw that meat in the feeding trough because these boys is hungry. Then I had to do it again. They really need to tone down how much food these children need. Look, I needed a Yudi at this point, so I went out looking for one. And I checked this crevice here because I figured it was like, you know, between the couch cushions type of situation. Maybe it had fallen in there. But of course, I did not find anything. I mean, I did find this level 10, but that doesn't really count. And I tried to get rid of it to get something better to spawn, but it feared me away. So you know what I did after that? I did a dino wipe, and I figured it would take a while to respawn, so I went and looked for a frog instead because I would need it for cementing paste. When I got to the swamp, I got distracted by what I thought was a tree glitching out, but then I realized it was just a rhino stuck in the terrain. My curiosity got the best of me though, and when I got closer to it, it became unstuck. I didn't find a frog, but I did find this Spino over here, so I decided to take it out to get its sale for the boss tributes. This low-level frog decided to show up, but I disposed of it so that a high-level one could spawn in its place. The search continued into day 62. Where I spotted this drop that didn't come down all the way. It just kind of hovered there in the air, taunting me, but that was okay, because I spotted the frog that I'd been looking for. Of course, I did have to deal with some of the locals first so they wouldn't interfere with it. Then I started building my trap again, which was very dumb of me, because frogs can jump. So, I came to my senses, and I started looking for the frog when... See, he thought he was gonna get me, but he got. And I don't know why I tranked this frog, but I corrected that mistake quickly. It was not the 145 that I was looking for. Okay, well, surely nothing else will. You know what? Die. Just die. Alright, no further interruptions. Cool. Time to get these leeches off. Then I had to get airborne again to try and find this frog. I lost track of it. I mean, I was kind of busy. So I got in the water, and I missed my first shot. But I did not miss my second shot. Or my third, and 2 arrows was all it took to take this boy down. I was a little surprised by that, but I do have this OP crossbow. Then I made my way back up north to try and find a Yudi again and stumbled upon this Spino, but this boy tried to run away from me. I don't really blame him though. I'd probably run too if I saw what I was. I guess I got distracted from taming a Yudi though because I came back to the base and started messing around with the Rexes again. I had to get them all lined up nice and pretty. Then I made a, let's just call it a serving tray, and that's where I put a bunch of fertilized Rex eggs because I knew they'd be safe. Children are precious. And once they were safely in the mouth of one of my Rexes, I checked to see how much XP they gave. Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. So I spent the rest of the day safely placing children into the mouths of a stranger, and when I was done, I had about half of them maxed out. Whoopsie, one of them slipped through the cracks on me. On day 63, I went out to one of the caves to get some cementing paste, and when I got there, I put Skip McKill in a cryopod. Then I pulled off all of my armor and put a gas mask on. Why? It's pretty simple. If you're wearing armor and an arthropolera hits you with its acid, it's gonna break your armor and your mask. If you're not, it won't. So I threw out my frog and we headed inside. And we didn't get very far in when one of the 8-legged receptionists decided to greet us. And I know my frog's health seemed low here, but I was pumping its health every time it leveled, so don't worry, it was fine. Once I had a decent amount of cementing paste, I decided to cryo the frog. And then I did what all great art players do.
Here we go again.
The good news was that I killed everything at the entrance. The bad news was I didn't know if more were coming. And by now it had turned into day 64, but luckily we were safe the whole time. And that's a good thing because I was bored and I had the urge to destroy. Through hardships unnumbered, we battled snakes, spiders, and deadly snails. Then I came across a loot drop I had to fight some spiders for, but when I looked inside, I found a really nice blueprint for some flak leggings. Then there was a traffic jam that I had to clear up. Seems they couldn't get through this opening, and that was just fine with me. Then we finally came to the enemy's inner sanctum. There was heavy losses on their side as we cut a path towards the loot. Then when I looked inside, I got some more flak leggings, but this time it wasn't a blueprint. Things got tense as we got closer to the artifact, but I had bred Skip McKill exactly for this purpose, and he tore through them like an all-you-can-eat prime buffet. But when I thought things were going so well, my gas mask broke out of nowhere, and I had to drink some med brew to keep myself from dying. We sprinted for that entrance like there was a Reaper Queen behind us. Alright, so here's what happened. Normally my gas mask would have lasted the whole run through that cave, but I spent too much time waiting for Skip McKill to wake up. But we made it out of there, and now I just needed to repair the mask. We make it back to the Able Lair, and then I realized I don't have any black pearls to repair this mask. So I spent some time plugging a hole in my wall, but then I remembered I have some absorbent substrate to repair this mask with. And on day 65, I went back to finish what I started. I cut down hundreds of foes before me, probably. Let's just call it hundreds. And this time I grabbed the loot in the leech pool. So yeah, I got leeched, but look at that sweet flak chest piece blueprint. So I went back outside and doused myself in cleansing fire. And then I let Skip get back to killing, because that's what he do. And with that cave cleared, the artifact of the immune was mine. Back up top, I took a moment to check my inventory when this vile little creature and his friend come out of the bushes at me, but I take care of them quickly. And then I spotted another Spino on the way back home that I had to take care of. In fact, I destroyed everything in my way, because I'm the Dark Lord of this island, and it is within my power. And once I did get back home, I decided I needed some Dark Lord armor, because this is a hardcore run, and I'll take any advantage I can get. The next day I went out on the Basilosaur to get some levels on it, and I got in a fight with these Plesiosaurs right off the bat. They didn't last very long though. Then I spotted this wild Basilo that actually had some mana rays following it for once, so that was good to see. But I was on a hunt for Tusos, and I found one. And I needed me them black pearls. So I start wrestling with this Tuso, and it's going pretty good. It do be pretty annoying when it shoots that ink at you though. Not much you can do about it, just gotta keep chasing. 39 pearls off of one Tuso is pretty good. Then I beat up these toothy boys, cause they was in my way. After that, it was a nice casual stroll through the ocean for a little bit. Then we got ambushed by some eels, and this is exactly why I tamed a Basilo. Can't get knocked off on this boy. I mean girl. I think she's a girl. A wild mosasaur pulled a knife on us, but then, ho ho ho, who's this? It was an alpha mosasaur, and I needed its blood. I mean tribute. I needed its tribute. It was a fierce battle, but also we were fine. But also, I kept having to swim in a circle because that's the only way you could fight anything in the stupid ocean. The fight went on for quite some time. Alpha mosasaurs have a ton of health, but eventually it fell before me, as all things do. And now I had an alpha mosasaur tooth. I knew I was near one of the underwater caves, so I decided to peek my head in. And while I was in there, I grabbed this explorer note and a bunch of pearls. And since I was already doing underwater stuff, I thought, why not go for the artifact of the brute next? But single player arc strikes again, because nothing was spawning near the entrance here, and I don't know why. I was actually looking for a challenge here, but I didn't find it. I thought maybe they'd spawn in by the time I headed out, so I kept going forward. I pulled out my shotgun, expecting a ton of enemies here. Nothing. As I got closer to the artifact though, the enemies did start showing up, and I had to take out a bunch of eels here. Then some Xiphas showed up, but this Basilo was dunking on everything. So I cleaned up the rest of the enemies that were in the area, and then I grabbed the artifact of the brute. By now it had rolled into day 67, but I was not done exploring this cave yet. Good thing, because I came across this fearsome beast. Look at his tiny little Koado arms.
Please, take my hand.
But hey, look, some enemies finally showed up, and this shotgun rips right through them, which pleases me. None of the drops seem to be spawning though. It's always something, isn't it? You know what though? I had fun. And at the end of the day, that's really all that something something blah blah. I checked the other side of the cave and all I found was this explorer note. So after that I decided to get out of this place because it was a huge disappointment. Well done, my minion. We have the artifact of the brute. Now on to the artifact of the cunning. You'll make sergeant for this. What's that? You already are a sergeant? It took us half the day to get to the other cave because it was on the other side of the map. At least this one was a little spicier. A lot spicier. There were a lot of eels, which is exactly what we trained for. Seriously though, there was a lot of eels. But we pressed on, because nothing was going to stop us from getting that artifact. In this chamber, I poked my head up so I could take a little look around. But it turned out that it was just more eels, and sharks this time. A whole buttload of sharks. But you know what? I handled it. And I do miss the bug from Survival Evolved, where when a shark peeked its head out of the water, it just died and rubber banded everywhere. Then we descended further into the depths of the cave. We encountered little resistance in this corridor. But when we entered the chamber of the artifact, we found the last remaining holdouts, and they didn't last long. These two tried to pretend like they were invisible. They weren't. But once I finally dealt with them, the artifact of the cunning was now mine. It was day 68 when I made it back to land, but first I was reminded how heavy black pearls are. So I had to pull out the Argent, because it's perfect for backbreaking labor. Once I got back, I decided to strut around and brag about all the artifacts I collected while everyone here just sat around doing nothing. I love doing that, but I still needed more artifacts and the days were ticking. So I headed out to the jungle cave to collect the next one. Skip and kill. Get to killing. Now I'm gonna be honest, I forgot everything about this cave. I didn't know where to go or what to do, but it didn't take long for the residents to introduce themselves. Once I saw these, I immediately took my armor off. Then I resumed the insect purge. I journey further into the cave and kill a large group of spiders here, and when I exit out the other side, I can see the artifact is right in front of me. Artifact of the hunter, you are mine. I explored the cave a little bit further and found this loot crate, but first I had to kill the scorpion. Clearly it was in charge. Then I collected the loot and oh my god, 7 cooked meat and a spear. I swear I didn't cheat it in. The quest continued through the cave and much chitin was obtained. It wasn't a very large cave, but it was packed with enemies. I found this explorer note on the way out, and although we really didn't need the XP, I just wanted to collect it anyway. And with the cave fully explored, it was time to head back outside. I set my sights on the artifact of the pack next, and I decided to leave airmail outside. I was sure nothing bad would happen. So I threw out Skip and we headed on in. This cave has a large pit in it that I just jumped straight down into and started taking out the trash. And the corridors in here were pretty tight, but Skip fit through them, so I wasn't too worried about it. I found an explorer note in this area, and then I continued on destroying everything in our path. Because there was a shortcut in this spot, so that meant I had to take out everything in the area. Because I didn't have any armor on, so if I dismounted and got surrounded by enemies, I was probably gonna die. Alright, so time for that shortcut I was talking about. Just point to this spot and grapple to it. It'll pull you right to the top. And once you finally do get up here, the artifact is right down this hallway. You just walk to it and pick it up. And just like that, the artifact of the pack was now mine. And while I was walking out, I thought surely I had killed everything in this place, but I was incorrect about that. So I just started blasting. I mean, what else could I do? I guess I could have screamed. That might have worked. And I got the mega rabies here, so my health started dropping. So I do a tactical reload, then I turn and start blasting some more. Then my armor broke. Wait, I was wearing armor? Okay, I guess I had armor on. A little sip of the med brew there. And with a bad case of rabies and my stamina almost depleted, I threw out Skip and Kill. And I might have been able to fight that, but it wouldn't have been worth it. Part of survival is knowing when to run for your life. So yeah, we survived. And we had another artifact in our hands now. See? Told you guys everything would be fine if I left airmail out here. It was now day 70, and I was on my way to the artifact of the Massive. And I really didn't want to have to do this, because I hate this guy. But I brought out Dean Westry, because this cave's dangerous as hell. It's hot as hell too. I slowly make my way to the back because one wrong step and I could fall into the lava and die. And these enemies can push you into the lava as well because they all have knockback attacks. But I lure them into areas where that's not possible by letting them come to me first. And you're probably thinking, why'd they put these dilos in here? These things are weak, man. Well, that's why. So you get poison in your eyes and accidentally fall into a lava pit. But I don't do that because I've come too far now. When I take on this next group, there's so many bats that I can't count them all. So I just make sure that I keep backpedaling so they can't encircle me. You ever been encircled by a group of rabid bats? Well, they almost did right there, but I'm cutting through them so fast that they can't. You might be wondering why I'm not wearing any armor. Great question. But I have an Ascendant saddle, so it doesn't matter. Skip McKill would have been a lot better in here, but I needed Dean because he has a shorter jump and I can control it better. This part was a little bit of a clincher because of the pit on my left, and also these dilos kept spitting in my face. But I did manage to get through it unscathed, and you gotta be real careful with this part, because if you time your jump wrong, you are so dead. But I didn't mess it up, because I'm literally the main character of this game. I've got more plot armor than Jon Snow. You can tell when you're getting closer to the artifact. there's a lot more enemies. I mean, a lot more sacrifices. They were all like, "Ah, kill me, please." And I was like, fine. Then I approached the last section of the cave that led up to the artifact, and I had to be careful here. First, I had to lure the last of the enemies to me so they couldn't knock me into the lava. Then I had to jump this little gap I call the clencher. And when I landed on the other side, there was a scorpion I had to take out. Then, I made the final jump over to the artifact. And after one of the most dangerous parts of this run, the artifact of the Massive was mine. Day 71, I left my game running while I was eating, so nothing happened that day. Now we're on day 72 looking for a Yudi. And while I was out by the blue obelisk, I finally saw the first Giga I've seen in this entire playthrough. I grabbed this Explorer note while I was out here, and then I caught this Alpha Carno on the northern coast that really caught my eye. But I was feeling lazy that day, and also I was on a mission and I was running out of time. I searched far and wide, but the Yudis just weren't showing up. But since I was over by the artifact of the Skylord, I decided to do that one next. Before I went in though, I put Airmail on passive flee, just in case. Now this cave is actually very fast and very easy if you know where to go. I know that I'm looking around right now like I don't know where I'm going, but I do. You see these bats right here? Yeah, that's where we need to go. You get a free death, and you get a free death, and you get a free death. And of course, I had to clear out a few spiders too. It's always spiders. Wait a minute. Who do we know that likes bats and spiders? Is there some kind of Dracula running this island? I kill a few more of Dracula's minions, and then I collect the artifact without too much trouble. I make my way back outside, reminding the dead in my path that I'm their new lord and master. The truth is, I just didn't feel like harvesting any of it, but they don't know that, they're dead. After that, I was back on the hunt for a Yudi, and I searched on into the night, thinking that Dracula was gonna come get his revenge on me, but it never happened. Yudi never showed up either. I continued my search for the elusive Yuti, and spotted this level 25 that I was never gonna tame, because it's trash. So I flew low through the tree line. It seemed to be the only way I was gonna spot one in this forsaken place, and I almost gave up, but then I saw her. And she instantly brought out the fear pepper spray, and I tried to convince her that she had me all wrong, but she sprayed me right in the eye again. So I pursued her from a distance, shooting sweet nothings into her hide. But alas, the fair maiden was overcome with bloodlust, so I played hard to get. And suddenly she found me irresistible, though it took many arrows of persuasion to get her to see reason. But suddenly she ran from me, a sudden case of cold feet, I suppose, though she had subsided with the unpleasantness of the fear pepper spray, and she must have tired herself out because she collapsed. Only the finest meats for me, lady. She'll thank me later. I went back to retrieve airmail, and then our long watch had begun. Just in time, too, because this scorpion showed up and tried to wreck the whole affair. There's always some scorpion waiting behind a rock somewhere. And I had been looking for this Yudi for basically the whole game, so I did not leave it alone. And as the snow started coming down, she finally came to her evil senses. After that, we went back to the base, and then I swapped the saddle on Bobson for a slightly better one. Then I put the artifact of the Skylord away and introduced the Yudi to the rest of the crew. At this point, I needed to get the artifact of the Clever, and that one was actually very close by. We had to go pretty deep into this cave to see our first enemy, but that's because they were all having a party right on top of each other right here. And there is a ton of them, but Skip McKill is a beast. And of course, we have to take all our clothes off every time we go into a cave. Then we get right back to work destroying everything in our path. After that, I grabbed this Explorer note and this blue drop, which was not good. Then I pressed on further into the cave until I cleared a path to the artifact. And just like that, the artifact of the Clever was mine. On day 74, it was time to get the artifact of the Devourer. It was out on Carno Isle, so I swam with Skip McKill. When we landed on the island, we were met with heavy resistance, but we were basically unkillable gods at this point. And I questioned if playing with single player settings was a mistake, because it bumped the stats up on basically everything in the game. Well, too late now. Anyway, I had an artifact to get, so I went straight into that cave. No fear whatsoever. I think the last time I was actually afraid occurred during a 5-minute internet outage. I made my way to the infamous pool at the back of this cave, and when I came out the other side, I was greeted by more of Dracula's minions. How do these guys not know that I'm the Dark Lord of this island? It's really confusing me. But you know what? If you have to say you're the king, you're not really the king. So I showed them. All of them. It didn't take that long because this isn't a big cave. You just gotta watch out for all the pitfalls and try not to get knocked off. I did have to keep dumping Skip McKill's inventory though because it kept getting filled up every 5 seconds. Then I did a little parkour to get down without dying. A Thylacoleo would probably have been better, but I never ended up taming one. And once I reached the bottom, I had more sacrifices to deal with. I'm simply swamped by all the creatures that want to die by my hand. But eventually I reached the artifact, and then I claimed it for my own. Take that, Dracula. The time had come to collect the final artifact, the artifact of the strong. This is the cave that separates the men from the boys. If you don't know what you're doing in here, you're gonna die real quick. Obviously, I had to bring my boy Skip McKill. In this first chamber, I took a look around to see what I could find. A couple of wolves on the other side over there, a couple of yetis, a purlovia, some bears. Yup, typically what you'd find in this place. You see that little patch of dirt right there? That's a purlovia. We're gonna throw this grenade at it. You see, I missed there. That was a tactical move to confuse it, but then I use another tactical move to hit the fish instead. It doesn't know what I'm gonna do next. But the third time's a charm and I hit it. And I get back on Skip McKill right quick, because I need to stop talking like an oil tycoon from Texas. Actually, I knew the purlovia was on its way over, so I assumed the kill position. It looked like the coast was clear here, so I turned left to go down this hallway. Spotted some wolves on the other side, but no big deal. But you know what was kind of a big deal? This guy flying right at my face. So of course he knocks me off, but I've got so much armor that it's not really a problem. And it turned out that the Yeti was the only thing hitting us anyway. So I just got back up on Skip McKill and took care of business. Then I came out to this ledge because it's sort of a shortcut and you can rain death down from above. You see all those things down there? Yeah, they're about to die. So I started blasting, but it turns out this isn't a very efficient way to deal with this. Then I spot a couple of rats underground, so I had to get them out of there. Bingo, you little deviant. And with the purlovia out of the ground, I could safely jump down there. Because really, they're the only thing that's dangerous in this place. If they dismount you while you're surrounded, you're dead. I ate a little free curry so I wouldn't freeze to death, then I headed to the next chamber. And I jump off to the right here because it's actually pretty safe, there's nothing in the water. Once you get to this spot though, it's time to pull out the sniper rifle, because there's a bunch of enemies standing on top of some sleeping purlovia you gotta deal with. So then I shot this polar bear in the face and they started running towards me. Then I let Skip McKill clean him up for me. Oh, looks like we got a couple stragglers back there. And these guys yeet you with every hit, so I try to keep my back against a wall. Alright, let's see if I can land this grenade. Yep, I knew it. Time to take out the purlovia trash. Nope, that's a miss. Stop being bad. Okay. Yep, that one's good. You know, I don't think I'll ever get tired of killing these things. They're the worst thing they ever put in the game. There, I said it. See? I told you. I get knocked off, but it's just the one purlovia, so the shotgun handles it pretty quick. Then I body pulled these polar bears over to me so I could take care of them next. They're a little slow. It's okay. Excuse me. I'm gonna need you to come out of that rat hole right now. Oh, he actually came out. Get him. Get him, Skip. A little further in, I spotted my first loot crate. Once I was sure it was a purlovia free zone, I took a little look inside. But it wasn't that great. But just around the corner from there, I spotted where the real party was, and I was not invited. They tried to kick me out, but I was coming in whether they liked it or not. And some of them were a little more reluctant than others, so I gave them some motivation. Ah, just a sea of green right before my eyes. Yes, that's what I like to see. But what about the emotional? I'm just kidding. Ah, emotions. That's funny. I got more purlovia to explode out of existence here. I'm a busy man. I ain't got time to feel. But these ones ain't fighting, so I gotta shoot them. Gotta make everything so difficult. Just die already. Then I spot this one hiding over to the right. What is this, a magic trick? Are we just appearing in clouds of smoke now? Well, let me introduce you to Skip McKill's favorite magic trick where you unappear forever. This is my life now. I am the purlovia hunter. When I get to this next ledge, I devise a little plan. First, I shoot them to get their attention. Then they run up the ramp to get me because they're a bunch of blood-crazed killers. I don't know where Dracula finds such wonderful toys, and these Yeti must be from the old folks' home because they act like nothing's going on unless you shoot them or walk right in front of them. And I can confirm that they are stronger together. That is true, but not strong enough. In this case, pretty big, but I press on, killing everything in my path because I kind of have to. But also, I want to. So I whip out the motivator, and it gets motivating. And it's definitely the safest way to pull things in this place, so make sure you bring one. Another day, another demolition. You know, they look like they're busy. I'll come back later. Oh, never mind. I'll deal with it now. It's just never ending. It never stops. I kill one, and then 5 more spill out of its dead body. You ever just do something that you know your girl, or maybe even Dracula, is gonna say, "Oh my god, I can't believe you did that. It's so cute." Yeah, I'm about to do that. Alright, this I don't feel bad about, like at all. Die, you vile little rats. You honey badger looking little rats. Pro tip, if this is the only one that's around, just walk up with your shotgun and... Or you could do this. I guess I chose to do this. That's fine. Tactical reload. Need to always be ready to snipe some wolves from across the map. Surely the coast must be... Yep, these are definitely Dracula's minions. We finally make it to this little water crossing, and I know I'm close to the artifact now. Just have to kill 235 more things. I don't know where this Purlovia came from, but generally that's how it goes, because a lot of times you can't even see their dirt spots in the ground because they're covered by things like rocks. Now I decided to pick these off one by one. If you're not mounted, it doesn't matter if they jump at you. It seems the game doesn't think I've spilled enough blood yet. Some of them fell in the water, so I helped them out of that situation. Because there's loot down in that water that I wanted until I opened it and saw it, so I took out my disappointment on these guys instead. But some apes banded together in a last-ditch effort to try and stop me. The mortal fools. Finally, it was just me and a single Purlovia. I had trained for this moment, and I was ready. I wasn't sure if I'd make it there. That was a close one. And with nothing left to stand in my way, I claimed the final artifact on this island. But my army was not yet ready, so I spent the next several days breeding, raising, and leveling all of the tames I would need to fight these bosses. The Rexes were pretty much ready to go, but the Theries still needed some work. And I was in the middle of checking the Megatherium when I stumbled on this pleasant surprise. Pretty rare to get a mutation this soon, but I'll take it. We got ourselves a bunch of vicious killers right here. Then I got a mutated Thery, and honestly, it's pretty rare to get these color mutations. It wasn't all sunshine and daisies though. But nothing a Dark Lord like myself can't handle. On day 78, I decided to take out my aggression on some of these Brontos. They got them sauropod vertebrae, and I'm gonna need me that. But this Ceratosaurus tried to get in on that action, and I wasn't having that. These my trophies. So I finished cleaning up the Bronto buffet, then I moved on to the next generous donator, and the next one, and the next one. Then I moved on to farming Sarcos for their skin. And they were a little bit harder to spot in the swamp, especially at night, so I had to knock down a lot of trees. On the morning of day 79, I started leveling the Megatherium. And I find it hilarious that this is still the best way to get XP for your tames, but those numbers don't lie. So I spent most of the day doing that, and my Megatherium army of darkness was almost ready. The next day, I had to do a little bit of cleanup from the XP farming, but we had everything we needed to fight the Alpha Broodmother at this point. I just needed to craft some saddles. But first I thought I would show you this very interesting riding position. I'm sure that this is totally safe. I set out to find a better Megatherium blueprint because the saddle blueprint I currently had was way too expensive. And while I was out looking around, I spotted this level 80 Giga. That's the highest Giga I've ever seen in the wild. Usually they're like 5, 10. My search led me back to the base where I found this purple drop nearby, and I don't know how I keep getting this lucky, but look what I found. Day 82. That's how long it took me to learn this lesson. Then I made a vault because I needed more storage. And I started making cementing paste, but then I remembered I have a frog, and this is pointless. So let me reintroduce you to Ray McSriff, because that's what I named this boy. And he's a real hard worker, let me tell you. I found this amazing helmet in this red drop while we were in there, and we went back home after that. Back at the base, I made all the saddles we would need for the fight, and then I assembled all the troops to head out to fight the Broodmother. Alright everyone, listen up. We got an Alpha Broodmother to kill, and I want this to go smooth and by the numbers. And so it was finally time to take on our first Alpha. Let's see if my hard work and preparation paid off. Well, it seems I was not that prepared, because we were facing the wrong way and the boss came right up behind us. But I quickly corrected that error, and I whistled my minions to start tearing her apart, and they were chunking her health pretty good. And it may actually have been better that she came to us, because this way it was easier for the Megatherium to surround her. Sometimes they have trouble. My Yudi did take a little bit of damage, but we persevered and the Alpha Broodmother went down. After that, I collected the spoils of war and we headed back to the Palace of Pain. Then I placed down the first flag to signify our victory. Day 85 and it was time to face Harambe's revenge, so I loaded up all the Rexes. But then I caught this going on out of the corner of my eye. And yes, it is what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. Now I know I've been telling everyone to be bloodthirsty killers, but I definitely didn't mean you. Alright, that's enough screwing around. I got a big giant ape to deal with here. It's super serious. When I get up there, I have to take care of some undesirables because I need some room for my tames. I did throw out Chad to help me clean up though, and it went a little bit faster. Then I had to take care of this. What are you doing? Why are you just standing there? I mean, it's probably my fault, but why? Then I started lining up Rexes, which was very annoying. It's actually my least favorite thing about these boss fights. Once they were all in place, I summoned the ghost of Harambe, and oh, did he answer the call. Normally you have to run up and aggro him, but today he said, I likes ya, and I wants ya. And that was a good thing, because it meant I didn't have to move, and I could just encircle him with all the Rexes, just like the Broodmother. So I moved the Yudi into position at the back, and then I made sure all of my Rexes were buffed. And my Rex army absolutely shredded this boy. I'm not even gonna edit this, just watch how fast they kill him. And down goes the Alpha Megapithecus. So yeah, That was an absolute slaughter. Well, it seems I did get a Tuso-eye at some point, and I do have the footage somewhere, but I'm too lazy to find it, so you're just gonna have to trust me, bro, on this one. I did need some Aloe, Giga, and Yudi tributes though, so I set out on a Rex to find those. You know, I think I'm gonna do a no-flyer run one of these days. Running around on this Rex was a nice change of pace. So I went up this mountain path and spotted that Giga from earlier. Listen, a Giga's a Giga, so this boy had to go. Down on the beach, I grabbed this Yudi for its lungs. That's a lot of damage. Later on, I spotted this Rex that thought he was gonna do something. Then I finished off the day with my final Yudi kill. Day 87 started off with this totally sweet T-Rex roar, and we started breakfast off with some aloes, because I needed their brains. And for brunch, my Rex waited patiently while this Argent flew straight into its mouth. Then we went to the top of the volcano to check for Gigas, but there were none. And I ended up spending all of day 87 looking for a Giga, and I found nothing, so I did a dino wipe. Then I realized I'd been carrying Element on me this entire time. Guess it doesn't matter though, because if I die, I lose it all anyway. So I waited for a bit, and then I went back up to the volcano, because I thought maybe a Giga had spawned by now, you never know. And one of them had spawned, but it was on a risky ledge. Lucky for me, it fell down into the crater. So I swooped down in, threw out my Rex and mounted it like I was suddenly the John Wick of Ark. And when a flaming Giga's rushing towards you, you damn well better be. It was an intense fight, and we lost a lot of blood, but I was ultimately the victor. And with that Giga slain, I finally had all the tributes I'd need to do the dragon boss. So I went back to the base, packed up all the theories, and headed out for the obelisk. Alright team, we're going in quiet. I want silent throat cuts only. Except for the Yudi, you can scream your head off. Some of you won't survive, and I won't remember which ones because I didn't name any of you, but we will have a pizza party after. I make my minions follow me over, and then I start blasting the dragon with a shotgun. I thought that the dragon was gonna come down, but he started shooting fireballs at us instead. Then the PTs started coming in hot, but then the dragon landed, and I thought it was okay to send the Theries in after it. But they met him at the halfway point, which happened to be a pool of lava. Not good. So I had to whistle them back to me immediately. We were finally clear to engage, but I got too close and he started burning me alive. But once I was out of safe distance, things seemed okay.
Curse you!
So I remembered my training from fighting dragons in WoW. Ultra Mega Nerd Power activate! And we started to get him pretty low, but the Theries were taking massive casualties. I didn't know if we would make it at this point, so I got off of my Yudi, and I started shooting it with a shotgun instead. Don't do this on hardcore, I'm dumb, because he hits me with his flame breath, and I have to start drinking med brew like crazy. But eventually the dragon falls, and all that's left are the victors. The horribly burned victors. This was very close, actually. We were down to 5 Theries, and I almost lost my Yudi. Maybe single player settings aren't OP. But we were victorious. We defeated all 3 alpha bosses on this island and all that was left was the Overseer. But before we do that, I've got 10 days to mess around. So it's time to get real serious about something I've been meaning to do. First I had to build a trap, then I had to dodge a nope, because there was something that I was looking for. I heard it likes to pick berries in the morning, but I had to pay a guy $5 at a gas station in the middle of nowhere to find that out. Some folks say it makes a sound like a steam engine, or that it's got psychic powers. I heard it dated the chupacabra for a little bit, but it didn't work out. They say it can strip a man of its bones in seconds, and that it likes apples. I mean, hell, I like apples. Truly, a mysterious and elusive creature. I know it's out there somewhere and I'm gonna find it. That ain't it. Then I came over this hill, and what did I see? Well, I don't want to exaggerate, but...
He's perfect!
Come with me, monkey. We have a palace of pain that I think you're really gonna like. I just need you to swear your undying loyalty to me and stop hitting me. And to my amazement, he actually did stop hitting me. He must really want to see this place. So I dropped him off in his playpen, and then I made some regular kibble for him, because that's his favorite. I had to sneak up on him real quiet like so he didn't get spooked. He's a sensitive creature. He just wanted a little treat, that's all. But I was not done with him yet. Oh no, I had big plans for Reginald. See, I needed him to embody the essence of what it means to serve me, so we were gonna need to make some changes here. Needs a bit more. Really need them lips to pop. Now, I'm gonna do some contouring of the eye sockets here. Pretty sure that's what the ladies say. I don't know. Ladies, you say that? I've never talked to one. Yes, you're looking ravishing, Reginald. Actually, let's clean that up a little bit. He was looking a little rated R there. Ah, what an exquisite side profile. You will seduce and destroy my enemies. We are gonna need to dye your hair though. Actually, you're gonna need a lot of things, let's face it. And luckily for Reginald, I'm the best plastic surgeon on this arc. I went to the finest dodo college. And judging by the look on his face, that bleach must have reached his brain by now. Excellent. He is gonna need some clothes though. I can't have him running around like this. There's beauty in nature, but there's nothing natural here. And it's a good thing I have the latest in 3D printer technology. Behold as your clothes appear right before your eyes. Now, I know this looks like I'm just drawing this on like a child with a crayon, and that's because I am. But there is literally no one else on this island that can do this for you, so you'll just have to accept the gift you've been given. And of course, we must cover your shame. We want to confuse and lure the enemy into our trap, not scare them away. I see that I have misplaced some of the paint, but worry not, I will correct it in time. Now you are looking quite enamoring at this point, Reginald, but there is still one thing that's missing. Ah yes, of course, a little touch of the rouge. Now you must hold still, Reginald, or it will look like you put it on instead of me, and I would spare you any further embarrassment. We're going for light-hearted amusement here, and it's a fine line between that and pathetic. And at this point, my painting skills had reached new heights, for I was painting the toenails without zooming or rotating at all. I must have been completely in the zone on this. Okay, that's good. Our enemies are doomed. Let's get a look at you.
What the hell is even that?
I love how he's just looking towards the heavens for something to come and save him, but nothing's coming. There's only me now. You should have never got captured by me, boy. You should have clawed my eyes out. The next day, it was clear to me Reginald needed a hat. I mean, at least he has some armor now. That bikini was to protect other people more than himself. Then I asked Ray McSriff what I should do today. He said I should paint a picture. I told him I wasn't very good at that, but I had another idea. One that required meticulous planning. And what could require such planning, you ask? Well, pretty simple. I'm gonna jump stuff off a ramp in the ocean. But first I needed to build the ramp, which was kind of a pain, because it took me a fair number of tries to get the snap points right, but once I did, it all came together. Next thing I did was tame an Ichthy, and it didn't really matter what level it was. I named this one Sanic. You know, I'm just having a great day here talking about jumping ramps, and then this guy has to show up. Next thing I know, I'm drowning, and Sanic is dead, and it's all his fault. So I kept going for the eyes with my pike, and I got one of them, but then another one came along. But this one swam off though, so I just turned and walked away. But you know what I realized? Those sharks did me a favor, because Ichthy's can't jump out of the water, and I'm an idiot. But I didn't give up yet, because I had a solution to this problem. A 140 mana ray. So I lined myself up with that ramp I made, held on for dear life, and launched. Not that far, but that's okay, we can do better. Turns out I was actually having more fun just ignoring the ramp completely. Not sure why I never tamed one of these before. They're pretty sweet. I'll have to remember this for the future. I'm gonna use this to get around everywhere in the water. And then I said, you know what, I will give painting a try. I may not be the best at it, but we can all laugh at me together. So I started off painting the sky. That seemed like an easy place to start. Then I started roughing in one of the obelisks, and I do mean roughing in. Then another obelisk started to appear in the distance. Can you tell they're obelisks? Because I can't. And maybe there's a little lake down here. Let's just pretend. And then some little plants started showing up. You'd never know that's what they were at this point, but they just kept popping up and popping up. And eventually we had a whole green vista. Then we started adding a few tree trunks, and I know what you're thinking. This is the worst painting I've ever seen in my life. Well, hold on, cause it gets a lot worse. And I just kept adding tree trunks. I mean, it's supposed to be a redwood forest, can you tell? Then I started adding some cliffs and some dirt. Does it look like it? But you know what, that's okay, because someday, 5 seconds from now, I'm gonna look back on this painting and laugh. Now here's where I started painting in the pine tree leaves, and I got real serious here. And I have to say that so far, I've perfected the please put this on the refrigerator style. It's not one that many master. The forest was really starting to come together now, and I think I see a squirrel or two if I squint real hard. And this is when I started painting in some of the details on the obelisks. That red squiggly line back there took me 7 hours 22 minutes. Then I changed the shade of red because, come on, that's not photorealistic enough. Then I refined the shape of the green obelisk just a little bit more. There, that's better. This is gonna look great on my mom's fridge. Now it's time for me to add more swirls and squiggly marks to the vegetation. And maybe there's a happy little venomous snake in there just waiting to meet you. And it eventually did look like something. I just don't know what. So I just started filling everything in, you know? I mean, go nuts, why not? I started filling an ocean in behind the green obelisk. I started putting some more dirt on the right side. I mean, can't hurt it at this point. I even added a few more redwood trees. Then I started filling in all the details in the foreground, and it was not going well. I swear I'm trying. So I salvaged this area by turning it into a little jungle. Just a playful little jungle full of friendly critters. And this painting took such skill that it rolled over into the next day, and it was still missing something. So I said to myself, let's paint a little Bronto over here. And he needed a friend, so I added that too. And with that, my first painting was done. I'm not a painter, okay? I'm a musician. I already spent my 10,000 hours somewhere else. This is what terror looks like. When the overseer sees me riding this down the hall, it's gonna stand and fight me anyway. But it's gonna be scared, alright? Real scared. Ah, who am I kidding? I'm not gonna take Reginald into the tech cave. I don't know what I'd ever do if I lost him. Probably just find another one. I'm not very sentimental. One of the good things about being late to the ASA party is that I have all these nice little toys to play with on the island. And the first tool I want to start playing with is the gene scanner and the gene storage. So I make both of them, and then I place the gene storage down. And that's when I realized how dumb I was for not making this sooner, because I didn't know you could scan for creature locations with this thing. It looks like it's doing something right now. I don't know what, but it's doing something. Ah, so it seems I can use this tool like a spyglass. Hello there, Kingslayer. You know, I was gonna use Todd for this little adventure, but then I realized I need Hambone to airdrop stuff into the Taming pen, so sorry, Todd. You see, I'm working on a very special project that's gonna require certain traits. So, what am I looking for? Well, here's the list. So, what's the deal here? Why these traits? If you have a dino with these traits, it'll take less damage from Tenacious. It's gonna deal more damage from Angry, and because of this increased damage, it's gonna have more lifesteal from Vampiric. So basically, I'm trying to create an abomination that should never be created. So, you're probably wondering, what kind of dino are we trying to get these traits for? Well, spoiler alert, it's for a dodo. And I actually had a pretty hard time finding these traits on a dodo. They're not very common at all. Most of them are absolute trash. I did kind of have fun looking for them though. It was sort of like a crazy scavenger hunt. But yeah, hell no, you can't come live with me. You know, you show up looking for dodos and they all want a handout because literally anything can kill them. You could poke them with a pillow and kill them. And I searched for a long time, but eventually I found this one that had Vampiric Tier 1. It wasn't Tier 2, but I'll take it just in case. And I don't know why I didn't just tame it right there on the beach. I mean, one trank dart and it would have been out. But I decided to fly all the way back to the base with it and ran out of stamina right before we got there. Normally, I don't really care if this happens because nothing's gonna kill me and my Argent. However, the dodo, the precious dodo that has the trait I've been looking for hours, was suddenly in serious danger. Look at it. It's just going for a stroll while the world's on fire. I took care of the immediate threat, but my stamina was still low, so I had to wait for that. And the coast was not clear yet, but thankfully nothing happened, because I swear, man, I swear, if I had to look for this thing again, I would probably still do it. So yeah, all that just to knock him out with one trank dart. But you know what? I learned my lesson. Something caught my eye back there though, so I went to go look for it. I thought this raptor might be killing it over here, so I went to go check it out and took care of that problem. And it turns out that it was not the thing I was looking for. Good thing my dodo was safe because it'd be dead. But I did eventually find it. It was pretty hard to miss. I was just looking in the wrong spot. Listen, when I saw this thing's colors, I knew I had to have it. And being a 140 was just a plus. I do declare, this is the coolest dilo I've ever seen. So, I named her Jessie Grumpkin, because that was the first thing that came into my head. After that, it was time for a little medical procedure. Listen, you got blood, and I want it. Now look, I know you don't want to live anymore after that. God knows I wouldn't, so... Okay, I know we still need 2 more traits, but check this out. Look what I found. Yeah, look at this bug. Nice job, Wildcard. This has got to be the biggest fish I've ever seen in this game. And now it's gone. There, I avenged him. I hate those things. You know, actually I hate these things too. Get this out of here. I start purging some of these dodos so that better ones can spawn. Yep, these are not the traits I'm looking for. What if this was your job in real life, you know? Like you just had to go around the island purging dodos all day because your boss is an evil maniac trying to breed the perfect specimen? Wait a minute. While I was on the hunt, I got attacked by some ants, and I started thinking, they should do something more with these things. They're kind of pointless in the game right now. Searching for these traits was definitely getting to my head, but eventually I found one with the angry trait, so I knocked him out on the spot this time, and after it tamed, I noticed it still had something stuck to its head. Don't know how that got there. And it was only tier 1 angry, but this trait is so rare on dodos, I might never find a tier 2 or tier 3. And at this point, I had 2 out of the 3 traits, but I still needed tenacious. So I set back out to find it, and these dilo colors were really popping. And I'm not kidding when I say I had to kill hundreds of dodos for this. It was kind of ridiculous. I did manage to find this guy though. Tier 3 Vampiric is super rare from what I can tell. This thing's a Dracula, so we better be careful. And you're not supposed to invite a Dracula into your home like this, but I need its blood. Alright, Tier 3 Vampiric. Soon I will own the Dracula. But first I need to find that tenacious trait. And so far, it's been the hardest one out of all of them to find. So I came out here to the pink sand beach on the west side of the map because usually there's quite a few dodos here. Then I saw this lone dodo walking around by himself, so I checked him out. Oh my god! Let me tell you, I thought I had died and gone to dodo heaven when I found this boy. It took me forever. Now I want you to imagine how I felt when this happened.
Boom! Headshot!
Why did you have to be level 10? Why didn't I notice? This is my life now. Just wandering the beach in search of a dodo I'll never find. I don't know, do I really need Tenacious? Yeah, I do. Because I want to see what happens when science goes too far. Okay, yep, no dodos here. Just checking. Oxygen frail. I don't know. That's real tempting. I'm gonna die out here in this pink sand wasteland, aren't I? This is where I lose it. This is where I eat some rotten coconut and then run off screaming into the ocean, right into the jaws of a megalodon. You know, you could really develop this into some nice beachfront property right here. All right, this better be it. This better be the one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Your blood is very precious to me, little one, so I will give you a quick death. And now that I had all the traits I was looking for, I could begin phase 2 of my evil plan. You see, I have a very special egg I've been saving just for this occasion. But first I need to take a step back and explain where this egg came from. I've been keeping a secret from all of you for more than half the game. Well, I mean, it wasn't a total secret.
We're gonna need a lot of dodo eggs.
But anyway, I'm about to reveal a secret. Shh, do you hear that sound? That's the sound of hopes and dreams dying. So yeah, this is my probably illegal dodo breeding operation. Let me give you a tour of the place. I mean, this is kinda it. There's not really much to show you here. But they've been breeding like crazy. I mean, I kinda just left them on and let it run, you know? And now I finally think I have the perfect egg for this little experiment. Oh my god, look at you. Let's get you injected with some vampire DNA. And of course, you'll need to be very angry and tenacious as well. Yes, now grow into my killing machine. I name thee Desdemona, Daughter of Darkness. And she does look evil as hell. I mean, look at her. I can't believe she got those colors. The next phase of the plan was to level her up. And to ensure that no harm came to her, I devised a foolproof method. Jesse, you keep an eye on her while I'm gone. Your life depends on it. First, I tried airdropping a saber tooth into the pen. Then I knocked it out. Look at her. She's just waiting for me to give the signal. All right, let's soften it up for Desdemona. Okay, obviously my dark powers have grown too strong here. So then I make a regular pike to lower my damage. Okay, let's try a wolf this time. What? No, Desdemona, you're not ready for this yet. You're too weak still. Okay, change of plans. Christmas is canceled. Okay, she's fine. Everything's fine. You come over here. Let's put you on not kill. Jesse, you were supposed to be watching her, but you ran away like a coward. It's my fault though, so I'll let you live. Let's clean up this little mistake. That's a lot of stuff. It's all junk, but this wolf was a loot pinata. All right, third time's a charm, right? Right? It better be, because I'm getting tired of this. Go to sleep now. I promise not to kill you. Something else will, but not me. Come, Desdemona. I have your first victim ready. Now, when I start hitting it, you start hitting it. It's very simple. Go. Kill. Destroy. Why won't you do it? Do it. But she would not do it, and I suspected that this was because she considered it a tame now that it was knocked out. So then I tried waking it up. It only had 50 health left. It couldn't really hurt anything. But while I was waiting for that, I started hearing some commotion in the yard and saw this. So I ran over to see what they were attacking, and it was a Dimorphodon. So I had to take care of business. And of course, every Dimorphodon within a 50-mile radius came after me for that. Then we had a little Dilo incursion that I had to deal with. But hey, the Iguanodon finally woke up. Destroy him, Desdemona. Kill. Yes. Yes. You're doing so good. Just keep doing it. A little bit further now. Well done, Desdemona. Well done. But when I checked her to see how much XP she had gotten, it was 0. Now, I didn't want to do something crazy, but the game was giving me no choice at this point, because it turns out that the only way you can level a dodo is through passive XP. So I put Jessie in storage to avoid any further incidents in the yard, and then I used console commands to level her up, because the game didn't give me a choice and I was running out of time. But now she was finally ready. The perfect killing machine. So let's go test her out. And to do that, I've built something very cool and also awesome. Gentlemans, I give you the Dodo Dome. An arena designed with one purpose, to test Desdemona against the creatures of this island. So let's go find our first contestant. I'm thinking we should start her off with something easy because I don't know what she's capable of yet. So I decide on this Parasaur because it won't fight back and I can see how quickly she can kill. And she doesn't waste a second getting to work on this thing. It goes down so quickly I didn't even have time to grab my popcorn. Okay, that was a little too easy. Let's see if we can find something a little harder for her. How about a 55 Iguanodon? Seems reasonable. Now let's see how she handles this one. Already it's seems like a better matchup. They're trading blow for blow here. It looks like their damage is about the same too. Desdemona takes a blow from behind, but look at the way she tries to sweep the leg. She has a fighter's instinct. That Iguanodon's looking pretty bloodied at this point. And finally she gets the killing blow. When I go down to check on her, she's not even hurt at all really. Looks like Vampiric 3 is working pretty good. So obviously I need to find something a little more challenging for her. While I was out flying around, I spotted this Rex and this Spino teaming up together against these Stegos. I've rarely seen them in the same place at once and never working together like this. But I'm not here to sightsee. I've got a bloodthirsty abomination waiting for me to bring back something good. So I grabbed a level 45 Raptor. This should be good, right? It's got fast attack speed. Well, let's drop it off in this pen and find out. It starts off pretty evenly matched, just like the Iguanodon. They're trading blows, but the Raptor isn't doing as much damage as I thought it would. Dodos don't have saddles, so I don't know where this damage reduction is coming from. Her tenacious trait can't have triggered because she's not below 50% health. And I didn't really take into account how low Raptor health pools are, so it started running shortly after this. Have you ever seen a Raptor run from a Dodo? Well, you're seeing it now. And she's got him in a corner now. It's not looking good for this Raptor. And down it goes. I've obviously created a monster here. I'll have to find something harder. So I try a 105 Raptor next because I'm thinking maybe the stuff I'm dropping in there is too low level. I mean, she is level 300 and something. But, you know, she's also a dodo. Alright, Raptor. Let's see what you got. Yeah, it's not really going any better. A whole 3 damage more than the other Raptor was doing. I'm sure that this will go well. And the Raptors started running away for some reason. Then they kind of stopped fighting. Not sure why. Desdemona looked like she was eating something off the ground for a second there, but they do end up getting back to it. And when the Raptor is actually attacking, it's attacking pretty quick. But with the amount of health that Desdemona has, there's no way this Raptor will ever kill her. But you know, let's see what happens. You never know, it might be some kind of Christmas miracle or something. And the Raptor's looking pretty bloody, so I don't have a lot of faith that it will succeed here. And once again, Desdemona is victorious. You know, when I started this little side project, I was kind of just doing it as a meme. I figured she'd die to basically the first thing that I threw in there. Now I'm thinking she might be a serious contender against some much heavier stuff. So I made the decision to go back to the base and gear up because I was going to try and tame a Quetzal. It's something I had been meaning to do, but just kept putting off for one reason or another. Kind of funny that the ultimate reason I ended up getting it was because I needed to airdrop much heavier things into this dodo dome. Ah yes, it does smell like Quetzal this way. But when I got over there to take a look at it, it was only a level 30, so pass. I was actually just consulting the wiki, and Vampiric might be god tier on something like a dodo, because look at this. The size determines the effect. So since dodos are one of the smallest creatures on the island, they definitely get the 5%, and then they also get 2.5% per level. So that's 10% life steal per hit. That means we getting 4.3 health back per hit, boys. If that ain't OP, I don't know what is. Actually, it is pretty OP against something like a Raptor. But anyway, like I said, I'm on the hunt for a Quetzal, and there seems to be one over here. Yes, a level 40. Look, I'm just gonna take it. I'm running out of time here. So I jump off my mount like a madman and grapple onto my Argent while I'm falling through the air. But I did have a parachute just in case I missed. Then I switched to the long neck, but I had to do a quick reload because I forgot to do that. Then I whistled my Argent to follow the Quetzal. It's a little bit tricky to hit it like this, but I managed to get a headshot off. At this point, it kind of got stuck on this cliff, so it was easy to hit it from here. But once it was free, the hunt was back on. And somehow I managed to get right underneath it, and that was the final shot it needed to get knocked out. Then the sleeping Quetzal and I had a real special moment. This thing be breathing deep, and I decided to cryopod Hambone because I was gonna ride the Quetzal back. And since it was such a low level, I didn't have to wait very long for it to tame. Ah, the majestic Quetzal. She's built like a steakhouse, but she handles like a bistro. And now that I have her, I can get a new friend for Desdemona to play with. This one looks good. But when I tried to drop her new friend off, it wouldn't fit through the scaffolding that I built, so I had to remove it. Then there was no further problems. So, right off the bat, the Theory starts damaging my stone fences, which I didn't even realize they could do. But they're really going at it, and there doesn't seem to be any pause in the action this time. Nobody's getting confused about who's what and what's where. Just a good old-fashioned bare-knuckle brawl. And this fight went on for a very long time, probably 5 minutes at least, so I skipped ahead a bit here. You can see that the Theory is getting bloodied though. It did seem like it was never gonna die though, because this just kept going and going. But Desdemona is inevitable. Desdemona is unstoppable, and Desdemona killed this there Xenosaur. When I got down to check on her, she had actually taken quite a bit of damage, but I think that Tenacious and Angry really kicked in at the end there. Obviously, I've been underestimating her. I need something that can do a lot more damage, so let's head out to Carnal Isle. I thought about taming a Sabertooth, but their attack speed is actually pretty low, so I decided to go for a Carno instead. And their attack speed is also slow, but they hit a lot harder. Plus, the idea of a dodo killing a Carno is funny to me, and I'm really doing this for my own amusement. So I drop our victim off into the meat grinder, but its damage isn't even as good as the Theory, and it has a lower health pool, so this was a mistake. Still funny though. Has science gone too far here? Have I created some kind of Frankenstein, but also Dracula? Like if you put Dracula parts in a Frankenstein? I think I might need to call an adult. I kind of messed up here. I'm gonna need something way stronger. Something like that. Yeah, like that. There's no way that this dodo is gonna beat this aloe. There's no way. Desdemona, I've brought you another friend to play with. All right, this better be good. I've invested a lot into this moment. It's all been leading up to this. I try to get a better view of the fight, but the aloe knocks me down to the ground. I get back up on top and then I cryopod the Quetzal so it's not a distraction for the aloe. Then I try to get a better view of the fight. And it seems like the aloe's having a hard time hitting the dodo, but when it does more damage than all the other things I've thrown in here. And I don't know exactly why this happens, but you can see right here that Desdemona stops to do something. It looks like eat, but it doesn't even make sense in the middle of combat. It happened in multiple fights actually. But somehow, this 135 aloe is getting rolled by this dodo. It just doesn't make sense to me. So enjoy some of this unedited combat footage so you can see that I was not helping this dodo out at any point. And the aloe tried, but even a 135 wasn't enough to take her down. When I went to check on her, she had taken even less damage than the fight with the Theory. So it seems like the Theory was the thing that came the closest, and maybe a high-level Theory could have taken her down. But the Overseer fight was one day away, and I was out of time, so I made a difficult but necessary decision. Now listen to me, Desdemona. From the moment I set foot on this island, you were part of my evil plans, and you exceeded my every expectation. Now we're going to take a trip up to the top of the volcano, where your prize awaits you. Hambone, this is happening whether you like it or not. And your Dark Lord commands you to do this, so I don't want to hear another word. Only the fires of Mount Doom hold a prize worthy of you, Desdemona. I don't actually know what this mountain's called, but for the purposes of this video, it's now Mount Doom. You see, I have ordered the sacrifice of this Giga in honor of you. Watch as it burns before your eyes. Does this please you, child? Yes, I knew it would. You do take after your father. Now let me just clean up this mess that I've made. We can't have this laying around. And now I'll just scoop you up so that nothing happens to you, and whoops, you clip through the terrain and now you're on fire. We'll have to just drop you into the lava there. Close your eyes, Hambone. I don't want you to see this. Hum very loudly to yourself too. The screams will echo in your mind forever. And finally the deed was done. You know I had to do this, Hambone. She was a Frankenstein Dracula, and if I just shot her, she would have came back. Now you and I are gonna go back home, and we're gonna pretend like this never happened. You will not say a word to anyone. You understand me, Hambone. You're my special boy. But as you just saw, I will not hesitate to end you. Then I flew around the island for a little while because I needed to clear my head after that one. And I reflected on this long journey. I had survived many, many days. I thought I would die for sure, but I'm awesome. But there was one evil plan I still needed to finish. And even if I failed, at least I killed all of Dracula's minions. Well, day 100. All that was left to do was defeat the Alpha Overseer, so I built a tech replicator and a generator. Then I built a couple of tech armor pieces that I would need for this fight, because I was going in solo. That's right, no dinos for this one, just me and the Overseer. But first I had to say my farewells, because it was either ascend or die. Betty White, you were a real one. Look me up if you ever get off this island. Reginald, my beautiful boy, I shall carry you always in my heart, my cold, dead heart. Willie Dustus, I believe I meant to kill you at some point when you outlived your usefulness to me. Well, enjoy your life on the island without me. Then there's Bobson Dugnut. He believed in me way back when I was whispering evil plans into his ears on the beach. You made me rich with metal, my boy. And of course we can't forget about Skip McKill, Slayer of Artifact Caves. I bred you for a singular purpose and you fulfilled it perfectly. Dean Westry, you piece of you were the hardest thing for me to tame, and I barely used you. You're lucky I like cats. Queen Xanadu, you carried me to victory throughout this entire adventure. Well done, my angel of death. Todd Gonzalez started at the bottom, now we at the top, boy. I told you I was gonna be big. I'd still be on that island if it wasn't for you. Then we have Ray McSriff. When I found you, I was surrounded by capros from all sides. But you came peacefully and you served me well. God knows I'm too lazy to make cementing paste myself. And of course there's Hambone Wilkins, who will take our little secret to his grave. Won't you, Hambone? Yes, you will. And now we get to the backbone of the Palace of Pain, whose walls would not stand without your help, Felicity Furcott. You were my rock. And the same can be said for you, Betsy Skimble, who replaced our beloved sleeve. I didn't know if it would work out, but you were way better than him. Plus, you didn't die. You're here because you're winners. I don't pick losers. Remember that when I'm gone. I'll remember all of you. I entered the belly of the beast and began my long descent. You can see that I'm avoiding those dinosaurs down to my left. Then I aimed for this lava waterfall and fell a little further. And if you're someone that has a lot of anxiety about your character dying, this is probably not the strat for you, especially when you see what I'm about to do next. Yeah, I let go of my parachute, so what? I mean, I had another one. Look, I wanted to get down faster, okay? You don't have to do that. I just believe in living dangerously. So then I turned to my left and I let it slowly lower me down this time. And it is going real slow here, but trust me, you want to be at this pace, because from here I push forward into this hallway and start building momentum quickly. Normally there's enemies all over this place down here, but since nothing spawned, I decided to just let go. And I started running towards the back where the teleporter was. When I got to the end though, I found this lone Carcharodontosaurus, which was kinda weird, and I definitely cannot solo that, so I ran back up to the top of this ledge here, got a running start, and then parachuted all the way to the back, which worked like a charm because he didn't even notice me. Once I got inside, it was time to swap my armor. I needed the tech pieces for the boss, and the fur armor was to keep me from freezing to death. And as I went up the ramp, I noticed that it was raining, so I stopped to fill up my canteen for a minute. And when I reached the teleporter at the top, I could see that it was ready for the Alpha Overseer. And there was no going back at this point. The final confrontation was upon me. When I came out the other side, I saw all the Guardians I had defeated earlier. I grabbed the Explorer notes that I knew were in here. Then I made my way to the inner chamber of the Overseer because it was time to end this. But that's when disaster struck, because my game crashed. And I thought I had lost everything, but the Arc God spared me. There was one problem though, it was only gonna let me do the Gamma version of the Overseer. But hey, better than dying and losing everything, I suppose. But you can see that I lost more than half of my shotgun shells, which really sucked, but I couldn't give up now, because I'm the Dark Lord of this island, and I'm about to do Dark Lord things. First I get airborne and I start blasting with the shotgun. I try to avoid the laser beams so that I don't get stunned. They don't hurt you, but they do stop you from shooting, which makes this fight take even longer. I take out some of the drones, but they weren't really doing much damage to me. Then I just keep blasting it from a distance. I get stunned by a beam right here, but it's not a big deal. I just stay airborne. If I fall, I'm probably gonna die. I get the Overseer into its first transformation, and it's the Brood Mother. No need to change my strategy for this part, so I just keep blasting her. This is taking a lot of shotgun shells though, and I'm concerned I will run out at some point, but her health's getting chunked pretty good, so this shotgun is doing work. I managed to take out the Brood Mother form and start putting in some damage on the Overseer again. I got him down to about half health, and then he turned into Harambe's Revenge, and this was the one I had to watch out for. Why? Because he throws giant boulders at you while you're in the air, and they'll kill you. So I dodged him by letting myself drop a little bit when I saw that he was gonna throw one, and it was taking a lot of shotgun shells to get this ape's health down. And there was a ton of defense units down there, so if I fell, I was done for. It almost happened right here. But because I am inevitable, the great ape bowed before me, and it was time to get in some more damage on the Overseer. It was never gonna be that easy though, and he ended up turning into his dragon form, so now I had to take care of that. And if you get too close to the dragon, it'll breathe fire on you, so you have to keep your distance. Fire does percentage-based damage, so armor doesn't matter. And he did actually get me with the fire right here, but I had enough med brew to see myself through it. And I had almost finished him off at this point when he caught me with the flame breath and broke my armor. I thought it was GG right here, boys. Not gonna lie. I somehow managed to kill the dragon and run away from the defense units, but then I had to put a new chest piece and leggings on so I could get out of there as soon as possible. Once I was airborne again, it was time to finish this. I didn't have enough chest piece to swap back to in case it broke again, but I couldn't get him before he transformed one last time, and of course, he chose the form that could actually kill me. I was low on health, I needed to heal, so I made a tactical retreat to a pillar up at the top. And from here, I swapped out some of my armor that was broken, and you can see just how close my chest piece was to breaking. And if that broke, I was done for. And I knew I had to be careful, but I wasn't gonna give up. Reginald and the boys were counting on me. I took out some of the drones blocking my view, and then I let Harambe have it, and I'm not sorry about it. And with the Monkey King finally destroyed, I could focus on the Overseer again, and I was not letting it get away this time. But as soon as I put the final bullet into the Overseer, my screen turned into a PowerPoint presentation because of that stupid Explorer note. But I left this in because I wanted you to see that I actually did do it. So, I managed to pull it off. I actually survived 100 days of hardcore on the island. I beat every boss, except for the Alpha Overseer, but as you saw, that wasn't really my fault. And my game was seriously bugging out at the end here, because I killed the Gamma Overseer, but it gave me the beta ending. But you know what? That's okay. I already accomplished way more than I ever thought I would. It was a good run, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe and let me know, because there's plenty more to come. I'll see you all on Scorched Earth.